Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
We went full inside backs.
Hey, it's Friday!
Hello!
We made it!
I didn't even realize we were starting yet.
Gentlemen, man,
I know.
I ain't seen you in
We were having our usual conversation.
Man, you've been out of here,
We're in the
bro.
middle of
Oh,
some
man.
crazy
I'm back, right?
conversation.
Where you been, bro?
Listen, I'm just here trying to keep up with G. Bush. He viral now.
How did the game go when your daughters played each other
It was
right
great.
before Christmas?
It was great. Maryland took down Purdue Fort Wayne, but it was great to see all the girls playing against one another. And my youngest had 18, led the way for Maryland that night, and just to see them going against one another was.
It had to be.
It was like a parent's proud moment. It was
yeah. Well, congratulations.
It was good.
I know we had talked before it. I know I said I can't even imagine what that's going to be like.
I sat there and part of Maryland gear, part of Purdue gear.
You got to support both.
Sat behind the bench on one team, sat behind the bench on the other team. Right?
Crazy. It really is.
It's crazy.
Someone like the Harbaughs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, as a parent,
That is.
you're so proud, but you're conflicted. You don't know which way to go.
Yep.
Busy show as we wrap up the week. This is the final regular season week of the regular season in the NFL, and then we've got no Brown stuff to talk about game-wise for another 8 months.
Plenty to talk about.
There's drama. There's going to be plenty to talk about throughout the next 8 months.
It wouldn't be December or January in Berea/Cleveland/Northeast Ohio if there were not drama, sadly, surrounding the Browns.
Yeah, we do lead the league in drama and dysfunction.
Without a doubt.
So we're going to talk about what's going on with them. First, quick teaser. We're going to preview Browns-Steelers, final week of the regular season. We're going to get into the Clowney comments. Donovan Mitchell not playing tonight. Darius Garland not playing tonight. Feels like a white flag game for the Cavs as they head to Denver. We're still going to talk about Donovan Mitchell and how he sort of fits into this pantheon of great young players in the NBA. And there really is a nice young wave of new superstars that I would say they're coming. I think they're already here. We're going to do pre-written headlines and DeQuell Jackson. But first, a couple of quick updates. You may have seen this story overnight about former Browns running back Peyton Hillis, who was in an attempt to save his children, who he believed were drowning, actually ended up in critical condition. Now, I've read this morning that they believe he's doing better, and so he seems to be on the mend, but that was pretty frightening. I know Peyton is an interesting guy. We've talked about him a little bit on this show.
Is.
Interesting is an interesting choice of words there, isn't it, Bull?
When he was here, that was like peak Browns drama. I mean, there were some crazy stories with him. He's wacky. But as wacky as he is, and as much as we may disagree about stuff personally, I liked him. He was always fun.
Yeah.
He was always willing to talk, no matter how crazy he sounded sometimes. And he was a fun story. He was actually there was some craziness at the end, but that 1 year where he was great, that was fun, and the fans loved him.
I had him on my show, and he was acting. So he was in a movie.
He made his debut last year, right?
Yeah, so he came on the show, was talking about his acting and different things like that. But Peyton Hillis, man, is a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah. It's like Jeremy Lin.
Well, people forget that he ended up on the cover of Madden.
Which is insane.
One of the best Madden games that ever came out.
Ever.
It
Probably
actually was the peak of Madden. Yeah,
it was. I would agree with all of that. He was, when they were doing the tournament, you remember how they would pit player against player? He would come into ESPN and they would do interviews.
Okay.
And I only interviewed him a couple times during that whole thing, but I found him to be eccentric, but engaging, and a nice guy.
He always seemed nice.
So we're certainly wishing the best for Peyton Hillis, and if we get any updates, we'll pass them along. The other update, this is going to be the most fun I have all day, is talking about Damar Hamlin.
Sure.
We told you yesterday, major improvement. After we left the air yesterday, his doctors had a news conference. This gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Do you want the soundbite?
Do you have it?
Let's play it.
Oh,
Let's roll it. Yeah.
Steve, I think
Let's
it's
roll it.
95.
Okay, so do we...
Give me 1 sec.
So I'll set it up. I don't know where you started the bite, but he couldn't speak. He was still intubated. He has since been extubated. The tube is out, and he can talk. Before he could speak, he could only communicate by writing something down. And I don't know where you start the sound bite.
But he was awake. He was alert.
He was. He was
And
squeezing family members' hands. We had that update for you yesterday.
Yeah.
But when he finally was able to communicate via writing, this is the first question he asked, which didn't surprise anybody that knew him.
Let's take it, Steve.
To paraphrase one of our partners, when he asked, did we win? The answer is yes. DeMar, you won. You've won the game of life. And that's probably the most important thing out of this, and we really need to keep him at the center of everything else that's going on.
All right,
that's a football player right there, right?
I don't know what I love more, his question or the doctor's answer.
Yeah.
It gets better. Let's take tag board full. This came out about 5 minutes
Yeah,
ago.
that was what I was going to get to next.
There you go. Take it away.
And this is unbelievable. He was FaceTiming individually with players this morning. After he was extubated and could speak, he was FaceTiming with players. He has since FaceTimed into the team meeting today.
Yeah.
And he told the team, love you boys.
Sounds like does he sound like he's out of the woods? I mean, the worst of it.
We're not doctors, but it certainly feels that way.
You heard the doctor, I don't know if you heard it, but the doctor said yesterday when they were in the interview, they said when he responded, the concern was he going to be mentally intact?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Not only was he mentally intact, I think the doctor's phrase was, oh yeah, he's there. He's not only there, he's home. Wow. And then they're like, he's home.
Because I know one of the big concerns was there any brain damage?
Yeah.
They really didn't know how long he was without oxygen to his brain.
Right.
We had a doctor on Channel 3 earlier this week and on this program. And one of the things that I took from those conversations was brain damage can begin at around 3 minutes without oxygen.
You got about 3 minutes.
And we don't know what that time span was. We just know that they were feverishly performing CPR, and we do know that his heart stopped. He was without pulse. So this is all great news. This is all tremendous news. I'll tease our overtime segment for today. By the way, if you're not a Coaches Tier member, it might be worth paying the $4.99 a month for today's topic. Are we going to do the AFC craziness in overtime, or are we going to try
No, we
to
do it right
before
final takes.
Oh, so we'll do it in this show?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll still tease our Coaches
and
Tier
while you're
member.
there, you should be $4.99 Coaches Tier member, because this weekend we're doing a group chat
Yes.
that you can be part of. You can ask us questions. We're going to answer. It's on an app called Haymarket. We already have 30-something people signed up. I've already told them we're still learning the app. Me and Anthony are trying to figure it out. It's not as simple as we thought it was going to be, but we are perseverers. We are experimental professionals, Anthony and I, and we're going to do our best to make it work. It's going to be cool.
Good.
Like, they're just going to see, they're not texting with us. They're just going to see our texts? Or
They can see our text, and then they can text in.
They
if
can
have a
interact,
question,
too.
Then
Oh,
we can
okay.
interact.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
dope.
exactly being part of the group chat, but they can kind of monitor it, see what we're talking about, and then if they
ask
do have
questions.
we could send them in, send them out. The app, I promise you, we're technologically proficient, not advanced. So I'm just giving you all the forewarning
There may
now.
be a kick up or two. We'll work through it. The bottom line
gonna be
is,
fun.
if you spend $4.99, you're joining our group chat session that is a blast every week. So you're basically kind of in the family when you do that.
Yeah.
So it's worth the $4.99. So the DeMar Hamlin thing is great news. We didn't, hopefully Peyton Hillis is on a similar trajectory, and he'll be out of the woods here before too much longer.
I think his uncle said there was improvement already for Peyton.
Yes, he did. He said liver function was
Right.
improving, his lungs were improving. That's great news. And as we find out more about that story, we'll certainly pass it along. We're going to begin today with a story of dysfunction, of drama with the Browns, something that we're used to. Before we do that, McNuggets, do you want to read the Tri-C?
We do. We
promo?
cannot talk about Jadeveon Clowney without telling you guys that our Browns Talk today is brought to us by Cuyahoga Community College. Tri-C supports their students financially, professionally, and personally, opening up doors of endless possibilities. Tri-C is where the future starts, and it starts right now. Classes begin January 17th, 2023.
There you go. So you still have another 11 days to get registered and get your
Very
life moving
smart
in a different
move.
direction. Yeah, it is
Very
a smart
move.
particularly now.
Yes. Get your 2-year degree from Tri-C and
Save
save a
money.
ton of money. Then go to 4-year college after that.
Transfer those credits.
That's right.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more popular to go this route.
Yeah,
and
'cause
why
it's so
wouldn't
expensive
it be?
to go to
When you
4-year
look at the
college.
average cost of a 4-year institution,
It's nuts.
my goodness, I don't know how families are doing it.
Listen,
I honestly don't know how.
How much would Maryland be if she didn't have a scholarship?
I'd guess in the 50s.
I mean, you're in the 50, 60,000.
I mean, it's insane.
Right.
Tri-C is incredibly affordable.
Yeah.
The education system, man.
It needs
It
It's
sucks.
bad.
But you get a good education at Tri-C. Some of their program, I know their nursing program is really good.
Sure.
My wife used to work as a student advisor on taking classes.
Tri-City's one of the best jewels in this county.
It is. It doesn't get a lot of hype, but they do a great job.
And you in first class facilities, first class.
They don't revamp
this thing is not
good.
what Tri-C was back. This is legit. Right?
So check them out. If you're sitting here watching us and thinking, what's next in my life? Hey,
right.
Make a bold move and reach out to Tri-C. You have 11 days before the new semester starts. Okay, Browns news. No, this is a surprise to no one. Perhaps that it happened while the season was still ongoing. But yesterday, after we had left the air, Jadeveon Clowney had spoken to Mary Kay Cabot, and she wrote a piece on Cleveland.com. I recommend you read it. It's thorough. It's well done, as usual, when MKC puts something out there. Jadeveon had some pretty strong things to say about the Browns. I think you've built some quotes on Tagboard. Essentially, if we just surmise what he said,
yeah, we'll take it.
Not happy with where the Browns are right now and how they use
just
them.
a couple. It's a little tough to read, but he says the root cause of his unhappiness, which has lingered throughout the season, is that he feels the Browns have removed him from favorable matchups at various points throughout the year and put Myles Garrett against the lesser offensive lineman instead, just to showcase their star defensive end. He says, quote, "You're all trying to get somebody into the Hall of Fame when all that matters is winning. Everybody got here for a reason. We could all make plays. I know I am." Let's take the next one, Anthony. And he had one more. Pretty much says they're doing everything they can to get Garrett's stats and taking him out of his own personal gains. The Browns, he said, have, quote, "got their own guys. I ain't one of them, so it's time for me to get my exit slip." And then when asked about switching positions and moving along the defensive line, he says, "I'm not doing that. Bleep, I'm old, I've done my job, I don't have time for that, I've made my money, I'm doing this because I love the game, but keep doing things like that makes me not love this game." Essentially, calling out the coaching staff for not putting him in the best position.
He's going out with a flamethrower. I want to start with
It was a public
Bull
exit
on this.
interview, essentially.
Exactly.
Well, let me say
he
first,
said he went from 95%. We can upgrade that to 99.9% because the news this morning was the Browns have sent him home.
Jay,
likely he's played his last game.
First of all, let me say kudos
Browns.
to you for crediting Mary Kay Cabot for that article from Cleveland.com, as most people do, unlike some entities in this town that don't want to give people credit for the work they do. They want to just pretend the other entities don't exist. I'm not going to name any names. They know who they are. Also, Mike put up tweets from D-Man, who also works for Cleveland.com, and Emmett, who's on ESPN Cleveland. So shout out to those guys for their transcripts. Anyway, the point of what you're saying of this thing is that I'm okay sometimes when players call out coaches or whatever, but I think Jadeveon Clowney. Now, this is the Browns look bad here too.
Sure.
But Clowney looks really bad.
I agree.
I think he looks like a fool. Number one, he's talking about, well, it's all about winning. Well, he said he wouldn't go in the game last week because at the last second, he claims, they wanted to switch his spot with Myles Garrett. Well, if it's all about winning, Jadeveon, then why wouldn't you go in the game? Even if you think the coaches are putting you in a tough spot. If you're really trying to win, then do it. Number two, is that a bad thing? I don't know that any of us have studied the numbers on whether he's actually right that Myles Garrett is getting the easier matchup. But if Myles Garrett is the best player, it seems to me, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, you play D-line, G, that I'd want to put Myles Garrett on the weakest offensive lineman because he's my best player.
He's your best chance of getting home.
Exactly. So why wouldn't I do that? Jadeveon Clowney was supposed to be a great pass rusher out of college. He's never been. He's never had double-digit sacks in his entire career.
He almost did last year.
He's a good player, but he's not Myles Garrett.
No.
Nobody's saying he sucks or he's terrible. He's a good player. He's a good run stopper for a DN, but he's not a superstar. Myles Garrett is much better than he is. It's that simple. I don't think he intended it this way. I'll be fair to him, but I think he in a way insults Myles Garrett with these comments.
How so?
Because he's making it seem like, they're making it. Everybody just wants Myles Garrett to look good. It's not about winning. And even though he's saying it's not Myles Garrett's fault that this happened, you're saying he's a part of this conspiracy for him to win and get stats, or not win, for him to get stats and get into the Hall of Fame, maybe, but that nobody cares about winning except for him. And that's ludicrous. Again, the Browns don't look good here either. Because this is now the second, because Myles Garrett had the thing where he got suspended. They look bad and look dysfunctional, and that's on Stefanski ultimately. And I have lost a lot of faith in Stefanski.
Over this?
Just in general, over the last month or so, I've lost some faith. I still wouldn't fire him, you know, as I've said consistently, but I've lost a lot of faith in him. I could understand. I am now totally understand why people want him fired, and I hadn't even gone that far yet. But in the end, I think Clowney looks the worst here, and he should definitely not play this last game, which he's not.
Okay. Clowney, obviously, as a player, sometimes you say some things that you shouldn't say. You can think them, but you shouldn't say them.
Right.
And this is a case of that, right? And Mary Kay just happened to be at the right place at the right time. He gave her the full bucket.
Gave her that steak dinner.
Right, so here's
baked potatoes and everything.
She's going to take it. She got to do her job right up, right?
Gave her that
So
word.
Clowney doesn't look good. So Clowney's not playing on Sunday. That's a given, right?
Yeah.
But, again, Bullet really speaks to this, right? Because think about this. Maybe there's some merits and truth in here, right? Now, I don't care if you're the best player. I don't care who you're going against. You're the best on the best, right? Don't give me no weak matchup. I want to see the best, right? So if part of it is true, it really speaks to how weak the Browns are, the coaching staff is, right? Because it doesn't matter who I line up
At one
against.
point, though, Brad, I understand Bull's point that if you can finagle it to get your best against their weakest, ultimately it does give you the best chance of getting
Isn't
home.
that what the Steelers did last
Of course
year?
that's what they
They
did.
put TJ
They
Watt
went
against
right on
James
Hudson and killed it all game.
I'm not saying that on some cases, case by case, the best just going to be the best. That's what they're going to do. That's who they are. That's how they built.
Against
right?
double teams or the best
That's how
offensive
they-
lineman, it doesn't matter.
That's who they are. That's how they separate themselves from the good from the great. But I will tell you this, what it speaks to, and I've been saying it for weeks, nobody wants to buy what I'm selling. Stefanski got no control of this thing. It's out of control over there. These commentaries, these statements, these things, we're going to talk about keeping this thing is out of control, right? And they talk about it, listen to people all across this town. Bring him back for another year, right? And I'm going to submit to, okay, it's probably going to happen. He's over his head. He's over his head, right? And it's coming out of the dam on all sides.
G. Bush, you're nodding your head, so I think you're co-signing Brad here.
You know, I said earlier in the year, these are symptoms, right? These are symptoms of a larger problem. I've been in locker rooms.
Oh, my God.
And the symptoms are, that's why I was so shocked and appalled of what a defensive coach said about the situation with the Bengals when they lost.
that was embarrassing.
When you do that, what happens is you lose. People start to think that they're going to go to your football DNA. Like, you don't know the game. And if your coach is directing you and you don't know the game, you lose all respect for him because now you acted out. So if you look through the timetable, the Browns under Stefanski have had lots of these little fires, right? But that winning season did a lot. Think of how many players talked out of turn. We could go one by one. Well, first, you know, we had the OBJ thing, right? Second, you had Baker Mayfield. He's like, I'm playing, I ain't playing, back and forth. Then you had Kareem Hunt. I ain't getting the ball, I ain't getting touches. You had Jarvis Landry. I don't know what's going on around here. I got to get up out of here. Don't even give me no money. Then you come back this year.
I wouldn't count Landry because he was already gone.
But he
But they had a
up-
chance to bring him back at a significantly less price, and he ended up going to New Orleans.
We got more
even
players.
less money.
So we got some more people.
Keep coming.
Now you got Myles Garrett.
Yep.
He's like, he just got in trouble. Then you got Jadeveon Clowney, right? So look at these. And the common denominator is all of those names. Every one of those guys have been Pro Bowlers.
Top tier
at one point in time in the league.
Not Baker.
Let me
but
ask
the
you
rest.
this.
But
Let me ask you this then. Do you think, G. Bush, that they smell weakness in the water?
No
Because
question.
you don't see Pro Bowlers with Bill Belichick acting out like this. So are they just sort of taking the temperature in the room, looking at Stefanski and maybe his lack of an iron fist kind of leadership and saying, I can muscle him around and get what I want?
I don't think, Jay, I think it's this, and you correct me if I'm wrong. It's irritating them.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
right.
So they're basically like the kid that's acting out, begging their parent for discipline.
Yes, you're irritating me because they know it's not supposed to go that way.
Like if you, it's like your kid being in a grocery line, and the mom gets into an argument with another mom, and you looking at your mom like, come on, not in here. Come on, Nancy. Really, we're gonna do this again? Come on, just get in the car. You got to be in the adult room. So now you look at these guys, and what he's saying to him is, and I can understand to a certain extent. It's a lack of communication. All you got to do you got to communicate to get the best out of people. If you know you got a Jadeveon Clowney, you got an open door policy. You tell them, come in, hey, look, man, our goal is to get not only Myles Garrett together, we're going to try to get you together too.
But Chi, let me ask you this. And I don't disagree with really anything you said. And it's all fair criticism, Stefanski. I agree with you. All fair. I don't agree about firing, but I agree with the overall criticism. But don't you think Clowney's out of line?
Yeah, but both can be true.
Yes, 100%.
He's
100%.
And we know he's a mercenary.
Yes, totally.
He's a hired gun.
He's looking for that contract.
Yeah, whoever got the bag, he don't pledge allegiance to nobody.
I'm loyal to nobody.
Yeah. Mike said this in our phone call, and he's right. Clowney's basically saying, I want to get paid this year. It's not my fault I only have 2 sacks.
Sure.
That's what's going on here.
And Clowney, here's the thing, too. Clowney understands his limitations as well.
Yeah.
Clowney definitely knows he's not, his best skill set is stopping the run and penetration. He knows he's not an elite pass rusher.
Right.
So he says, you got to do some special things to get me some sacks. You got to put me a couple places because that ain't my forte. The same way you standing Myles Garrett up, where my stand-up game at? Put me in position, right? Use me a little better, right? And by the way, I forgot another person. David Njoku was talking out of turn before he got his money, too.
That's right.
So Stefanski's, I never really thought about this until
it's a lot of
put it all
guys.
together, but Stefanski's relationship track record with the best players is not good.
Jay, I said this 2 weeks ago. Y'all didn't hear me. Some people can't coach quality talent. They just can't.
You did say that.
They can't.
Top tier.
They're
Does
better
it become
off
more
with lesser
psychology
talent.
at some point?
Well, because you have to treat top talent differently, right?
Yeah.
They're alpha dogs. It's different. You got to handle them differently. You can't treat them like Billy Smith over here. It's not going to work.
Look, Jay, you know this. Look, you don't work with top names in this game as anchors. You know, you in Berman. You got Skip. You got Stephen A. All them people over there. You know good and well you got to treat them all differently.
There's different rules. Yeah,
it's
no
different
question.
rules.
Here, this is how life
That's
is.
how it works.
This is how life works.
But that's the problem with
Let
this
me
society.
Let me give you a good.
Then I got a question
Here's
for
a good
Jim.
example. The Bulls, right?
The Jordan rules.
We all pros, right? We going on flying on the same plane. We going to the same hotel. Well, we get to the hotel. We got me, Scotty, Horace, everybody. We got regular rooms with just a king bed in it.
No room service neither.
Jordan up top in the penthouse, bi-level suites with pianos. I'm like, how is this even occurring? I thought we were all on the same.
Did you not see that man? Did you not see him running around on boys?
In Jordan's case, he was so great, and he was clearly the elixir that I imagine there might have been some animosity, but at the end of the year, when you put that ring on your finger,
Jay,
it went away.
This was in year 3. We hadn't won nothing.
Oh, no.
By the way, I know that's the way it is, but that's a major problem in society. It's never going to change.
It is.
Nobody should get special treatment.
It is.
I know it's silly to say,
but that's how it goes.
Yeah.
But you have to acquiesce to that.
By the way, Amari Cooper's about to have his best season in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, no question.
Yeah.
And
Gee,
now-
I want to ask you about something that Adam said, and it's curious to me because I've never really spent much time thinking about this, but you played the position. You played on that line. Mm-hmm. I imagine there's 2 different strategies in schools of thought. You could try to where you can manipulate the matchup, put your best player on their weakest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then there's another school of thought that Brad talked about. No, if you're the best, give me their best. I'm still going to get home. How did coaches that you played for handle those kind of matchups?
Well, they handled it. Well, the first thing they did was it was a unit. See, we never differentiated. It was a battalion. It's a unit. We all understood a certain thing. The defensive tackles in the middle, they never going to get them type of sack numbers, right?
Right.
So we asking them to be pressure. We asking them to do certain things, right? And so they understand that. But what our coaching staff used to do was highlight those things. They'll say, hey, Myles Garrett got 15 sacks. We've been moving around to get the best matchup. But you know what? One of the unsung guys, Jadeveon Clowney. He gets the worst. He gets to the toughest matchup every night. It's like you play small forward. There's some people on your team. Scottie Pippen got the hardest assignment every night and didn't get the level that Jordan got, right? And you can even see with Scottie. Scottie was upset during the Bulls thing.
Scottie was a big wuss. Brad said that a million times.
Right,
He's never said that a million times. I'll say it.
But the way you work that's why I've always been very critical of the way Joe Woods operates. He should have been communicating, saying, "Guy, hey, come on, Clowney, what position you want to be best put in?"
In fairness to Joe Woods, who I obviously think should be fired, we don't know that he didn't do that.
Well, proof is in the pudding.
Let me ask this before we turn the page on this topic.
Yeah.
Because we're going to ask this question about two of the coordinators here in a second.
Okay.
If there's more dysfunction, more of these stories, and this is when they leak out, exit interviews.
Yeah.
After week 16 or now 17, that's when players start to sing like birds. If there is more dysfunction in the media about inner working relationships between coach and player, does that change your mind on Stefanski coming back? Because you're the only one.
These guys have already made their mind.
I'm pretty clear.
Yeah,
you are.
I think it could sway me, and it most importantly could sway Jimmy Haslam. He's easily swayable.
Yeah.
You know,
the king of knee jerk.
ultimately,
I'm just a duke.
Ultimately, the successful franchises are patient.
Stupid.
Generally, right?
Typically, they have.
Now, that's if they have the right guy. Now, if you don't have the right guy, you shouldn't be patient.
Could there be more dysfunction that comes out that might lead you to believe, this guy isn't the right guy?
I think it's possible we hear something similar to what Clowney said from Myles Garrett.
For me, what would sway me is if Myles Garrett comes out and says, I want to be moved.
And he might.
And
but,
I'm not
yeah.
reporting anything.
No.
I'm not reporting anything, but that request would not bowl me over.
That clock is ticking.
Be clear. He pseudo said it.
He's already said it. He didn't already said it.
He did.
He didn't already say it. That clock is ticking.
But one other thing one last thing quickly on the setup of the defensive line. This is how I think of it. You tell me if I'm wrong. If I put, let's say the right tackle sucks. You're playing, I don't know who the Steelers' right tackle is, but let's say he sucks. And let's say their left tackle is really good. If I put Myles Garrett on the right tackle, they've got to double team him, right?
That's true.
Because that guy can't handle Myles Garrett.
Unless he's a superior talent to Myles' level.
Right, but I'm saying, let's say the right tackle sucks, the left tackle's great.
Yeah.
I put Myles, or let's say the right tackle, maybe that sucks, but is below average.
Sure.
And the left tackle's really good.
Okay.
If I put Myles Garrett on the right tackle, I have to double team, or Myles Garrett's going to kill me.
Yeah.
But if I put Clowney on the right tackle, well, Clowney's not great. He's pretty good. But the right tackle is more likely to be able to hold his own against Clowney, whereas the left tackle, even with a great Myles Garrett, is not going to need a double team as often. Sure. So in my mind, if I put the best pass rusher on the weakest offense, and some teams, their right tackle and left tackle are close to as good. Or
so you're forcing them to shift the way they allocate resources.
If I have to use an extra blocker, that negatively affects the offense.
And that speaks, G, to your point of you look at it as a battalion. It should never be looked at as individual matchups. Really, at the end of the day, they're chess pieces, but the game is our unit versus your unit. And I think ultimately the coach's decision should be this. What gives our unit the best chance against that unit?
And if you look at it, one of the things that the Cleveland Browns should be built and predicated on is speed. You look at you got your Andrew, you got JOK. To me, that would be the combination of my packages. I'd have JOK on the line of scrimmage every play. You don't know if he's dropping. You don't know if he's coming.
Like Micah Parsons?
Yes. I got them all moving around. Clowney and Myles Garrett would never line up in the same place. Right? As long as when the snap comes, you know where to go. Now what I can do is I can confuse people, and you can't run away from those three people. Sometimes JOK gonna come free. Sometimes Myles Garrett gonna come free. And God forbid that you bring some heat. God forbid you bring a couple. Now, so what he's saying is, look, don't line me up where everybody know we coming. Yeah. It's four of us on five. Right. They can chip. We not getting no easy gravy sacks. We're not getting no layups. Think about it when you got to hit mid-range jumpers contested the whole game.
I'm going to get killed.
You're going to get killed.
The defense, to me, needs a complete overhaul in terms of personnel on the front seven, and the entire coaching staff has got to be blown out.
That brings us seamlessly to our next point.
Okay.
Because the one thing that jumps out to me is I think we'd all agree the Browns have, if not the premier pass rusher, he's certainly in the conversation for top three. If you want to stretch it, top five. But he's one of the elite guys. The Browns this year are in the bottom third of the league in sacks as a team. Mm-hmm. It's mind-boggling how few sacks everyone not named Myles Garrett has. Right. To that point that you just made, anything at all that you can see this week that would change your mind on Joe Woods having to go? And I know you're big on the Mike Prefier has to go too, so I'll throw him in there too. Is there anything they can do this week in your eyes that would save their jobs?
No, I think that ship has been sailed. The Browns, frankly, the Browns need. My argument leads you to believe that I think Stefanski should be fired, because I think they need a full overhaul of the way they play offense, and they certainly need a full overhaul of the way they play defense. They need to play with their secondary, as G alluded to before. They need to be ultra aggressive on defense. They need to not only to blitz, but they need to blitz from all different angles, move guys around. Where's the safety blitz? Where's the corner blitz? Other teams do this. I see the Ravens, the Bengals, the Steelers. They're throwing corners. The slot corner comes in sometime. I never know who's going to come. Different guys drop in and out. The Browns defense is just so vanilla. And they have the skill, not at defensive tackle, but there's enough skill at linebacker when they were healthy, at defensive end, and certainly in the secondary, that they could do more of these things, and they did not.
Joe
There's
said
no excuse for
quizzically this week that he himself would like to bring more pressure. And now, so here, when I heard that, I thought, what the hell you mean you'd like? Then bring more pressure.
It's your decision.
You have the phone in your hand. But now, as I started thinking, why would he say that?
Yeah.
I wondered if he wasn't kind of exposing what he really thinks of his cover guys. In other words, saying, I'd like to, but I don't trust the back end of the defense to cover if it takes us longer to get home.
If you sitting out here chirping, right? There's too much chirp going on here, right? The Browns have no identity. You don't know what they do. We're the last week of the season. We don't know. I couldn't tell you what the D does or not. Right, we're not shifty.
Well, they don't bring pressure.
I said we're not shifty. We don't make adjustments.
They're very vanilla.
We don't make adjustments
really fast.
I said we don't.
But Brad, do you think that's because he doesn't trust the pieces that he has?
No, that's because he can't coach quality talent. I'm going to say it 10,000 times. Give him a team with lesser players, he'll probably be freaking great.
You talking about Stefanski?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Joe Woods. We're talking about Woods.
Here, this is what you're missing out on, right? Stefanski's controlling the entire ship.
Allegedly.
Right? That should be.
Yeah,
should be. Right?
I never see him over with the defense and Joe Woods.
Anybody under his umbrella, right, is really Stefanski. That's who it is.
That is a fact.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Right? And stop it's this guy. No, it ain't. It's that guy over there. That's the guy.
And what points to this is when you have to exile people, what that means is a complete breakdown in communication. Look how many people he's exiled. Not hey, let's figure out jettison, middle of the season. He's like, oh, no,
you're out of here.
You're gone.
You're out of here.
Baker Mayfield, they told him not to even come back to the facility. No, don't come back. Like when you can't get people to
and now Clowney.
When you can't finish the year, that means you have a complete lack of communication on a regular coach or human standpoint.
We're going to take Stefanski. We're going to put him right where he need to be. Division III with them little kids. And you go ahead and coach the kids up. Because
it's hard to coach grown men.
Because this A talent here, too much for you.
It's a mind work, isn't it?
Ultimately, I guess the reason I don't want to fire Stefanski is because I do think he's done a lot with little on offense. And I don't agree that he can't coach great players. I don't think there's proof of that.
Well,
I don't
you
think
say
we have proof of
a lot with a little.
Yeah.
They have Nick Chubb, who's the premier running back.
Nick Chubb's been great.
Yeah.
It's not like Nick Chubb hasn't played well.
I know.
But I'm saying in the passing game, in my opinion, he's had subpar quarterbacks until these last 6 weeks. And yet, the offense overall in his 3 years has been good. Now, last year it wasn't great, but the first year with Baker it was, and this year the offense has been good. It's actually been worse, obviously, with.
So in everybody's mind here, Prefier Woods gone no matter what. I don't care what they do this week. Pitch a shutout against Pittsburgh. That's not going to change your mind.
I think that's a given.
That for me. That's already.
You have bigger problems over there.
Yeah,
but the problem. This is what the problem is in this town. You won't call a spade a spade. You make every excuse for everybody, right? And sometimes it's just what it is. How about we just start over and you out of here?
But you say we make excuses, Brad. That's all the Browns have done for 20 years.
That's the problem.
That's
the problem.
I know, but then I would ask you.
The problem is all they've done is turnover.
I would argue that I don't really agree with that.
But where's the proof that Stefanski can't coach stars?
5 and 24,
Well,
whatever it
G.
is.
Bush laid it out pretty well.
I gave you six. I gave you six.
That's what it is.
I gave you 6, 7 people.
That's
Like
what it is.
these individuals, and you think about it.
Yeah.
Each one of them was talking about production. When David Njoku was the third tight end, he said, "I gotta get him out of here. I can't do it. You play Harrison Bryant over me." With Odell Beckham, you know he had to take.
Yeah, but G, first of all, Jarvis Landry, by the time he complained, he was off the team, and he wasn't the same player. Jarvis Landry's not a star anymore. He's just a guy. Jarvis Landry's just a guy.
When I say star, I mean they put work in this league. They are Pro Bowlers. They are locker room
I understand
leaders.
that, but Jarvis Landry at this point is just a guy.
But that's now.
Well,
I'm
how
talking
did they
about,
misuse Jarvis Landry? They didn't.
What I'm saying to you is
Yeah.
this: when you bring those type of guys in,
Yeah.
you have to have communication. Because when they feel like, whoa, what are you doing here? And they don't feel they are your extension in the locker room. Those guys keep everybody else in tow, right?
Everyone gave Jarvis Landry credit for the culture changes.
Yes.
Everybody.
GM, head coach, owner. They all three made that clear when he left town. What was so confusing to me, I do agree with Bull. I do think from a skill set standpoint, Jarvis Landry is just a guy.
He diminished greatly.
And I hate to say that. However, I do think that there is value in recognizing other things that are in the intangible category.
Right.
Yesterday, Aditi was on and she said, one of the things Mike Tomlin hates to talk about is intangibles.
Yep.
Coaches in general hate to talk about things they can't see, touch, or measure.
Yes.
And with Jarvis Landry, he honestly was one of those rare players who I was disappointed that they didn't reach the $10 million number that would have kept him.
Right.
Not for the production, although, by the way, he would have been productive in this offense because
I mean, he was hurt the whole year.
I know,
so, who
that's
knows?
true.
Yeah.
But I just think to have him around a young David Bell.
I wanted him
have
back.
him-
I agree.
So, Jay, to your point, the intangibles are sometimes immeasurable to the eye.
Right.
But you know when it's
You can feel them.
You know what's in the building.
Yeah.
Right. I'll give you a case in point. I'll take you back to the Cavaliers. Mike Sanders was one of those players when the Cavaliers were Phil Hubbard was one of those players, right? The Browns have had a number of players like that. Jarvis Landry and a lot. You may not see the production on the field, but he's the glue that holds the cohesive group together. So when it gets out of kilter, he has the currency. He has the currency to be able to do it.
And he was definitely that guy.
To be fair, Landry being gone is not a Stefanski decision.
No,
ultimately.
but
That's a very decision.
no, it's a problem because if your head dog knows who those people are.
if Stefanski had gone to Barry and said,
we're not letting him go.
But they had the problem with that whole situation is his guaranteed money if they had picked up if they had not.
Well, they released him. I'm not talking about not reaching. They did the right thing in releasing him originally because that number was $18 million.
High. Yeah.
However, he ended up going to New Orleans for $6 million.
Right. But
so
do we know that he would have come back for sure?
Well,
or was he offended
the
by getting
report
cut?
was that there was an $8 million offer for him to stay here.
Yeah.
He turned that down and then ultimately ended up signing for $6 million in New Orleans.
Right.
So either he bet someone else would come in with a higher number than 8 and had to tuck his tail between his legs and take the 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Or he was so disgruntled, he said, you know what? I'll go home, back to New Orleans, for less money than staying here and feel disrespected.
And they knew, and sometimes do yourself a favor. Be a great visionary. When you brought Odell Beckham Jr. in here, you know that's the dude's best friend, right? So you know already when you come in, okay, we're gonna have to handle these dudes as I'll give you a quick conversation. I used to work I was a manager in a call center when we doing Social Security applications. There's 2 people that was on the team. One of them they were a husband and wife, right? And so previously, before I was there, they said these people are going to be a problem because they don't want to listen to nobody. Their numbers aren't that great. I came in and inherited them. You know how it is. You inherit the people that's on the team. So I brought them in and I talked to them and I said, hey, first meeting, what do you guys want? Help me help you. They said, well, one of the things is we already know what the metrics are. We already know how we can skate without getting fired. We already know all of that. They told me that straight face. I've been here 10 years.
Wow.
I know what to do and not to do before I get fired, so that's on them. I'm going to do bare minimum. I said, well, let me see if I can get you to do more of the bare minimum. She says, I said, what would it take? You give me 2 good months, I'll give you whatever you want. I'll get you what you need. They only wanted to take their lunch breaks together.
Right.
Every other leader told them no.
Yeah.
They wanted to have the same schedule so that they could ride to work, come back together, and do whatever.
That's right.
Everybody else told him no because they just could say no. All I had to do was say, listen, if you give me these metrics, you don't rock the boat, and you do that, I give you what
the numbers do?
They was the best. They became the best 2 people in the call center.
Because you could read the room.
Best 2 in the call center.
There's a skill set to read the room.
And they said, what do you...
And to acquiesce when it's appropriate.
When it's appropriate.
Because it don't cost me nothing. I don't care when you eat lunch.
Well, and it benefited the operation.
It worked out.
Ultimately, to me, I don't think the Browns did Jarvis Landry wrong. I would have liked him back, but I don't think he's much of a player at this point. The Odell Beckham situation, who knows what the real truth is? I think there's blame to go around between Odell, Baker, and Stefanski on that situation.
You got to keep naming names.
I don't think.
You got to keep naming names. You got to say Kareem Hunt was disgruntled. He don't even know.
Again, that was about contract. That's not Kevin Stefanski.
Stephon Diggs in Minnesota.
Stephon Diggs, Minnesota.
That was after Stefanski left.
Again.
Stop making excuses.
Wait, I think Bull's timeline is right on that. I think that was
How was Stephon Diggs Kevin Stefanski's
I'm not even going to Minnesota. I'm going to my IC. Listen, he may be, again, I'm going to just tell you, I don't know Kevin. He might be the nicest guy in the world. I don't know. He over his head, though. He is. Yeah. And it's okay.
What's the truth about Diggs?
He had just said that, I know Stefanski wasn't the head coach there, he was the OC, but I think that he had left Minnesota before Diggs was unhappy there.
I think so, but man,
I don't know. I can't remember the timeline either, but I do think, Bull, that you may be right on that. When did Diggs leave Minnesota?
Diggs' first year in Buffalo was 2020. Stefanski's first year here, so they were.
Yeah, so it had nothing to do with Stefanski.
No, they were there in Minnesota at the same time.
He was unhappy in 2019.
2019.
Yeah, but if it was about Stefanski, why would he have? If Stefanski was gone, why would he have left?
Because he'd probably sick of him at the end.
Yeah,
by
but
the way,
if the problem is gone, then stay.
What was Diggs' numbers his last year in Minnesota?
His worst season of his career: 63 catches,
and he couldn't wait to run out of Minneapolis.
Touchdowns.
And how many touchdowns?
6.
How many games did he play?
15.
1,300 yards. That's a bad season.
1,100.
Oh, 1,100.
But the year before, he had 102 receptions and 9 touchdowns. The year before that, he had 8 touchdowns.
And when Stefanski was on the staff, too.
Was the guy, really.
Yes.
Spreadonomics.com.
He was
That's the new name of his playbook.
Listen.
Well, 2019 was the year that
you ain't
Adam
going to get it
Thielen
too
went
much.
crazy, though.
Yes, it was.
2019 was the year
Well,
that Thielen
and so you can
surpassed
see
him
how
as-
Diggs might be looking at this going, so you're going to feature Thielen when I believe I should be the featured guy? I don't
Ultimately, it's
know.
the quarterbacks making the throw. Like, I understand you want to say we're making some people you want to blame me making excuses for Stefanski. Okay, but we can't blame Stefanski for everything.
If it's 8 players,
yes, we can.
If it's 8 players,
but each one is a different circumstance.
But here's the thing.
But there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
The David Njoku and Kareem Hunt things were about contracts.
If I go to my boss and they say you got 8 people in your team every year that's complaining about your leadership,
but it's not
style.
every year.
No, over 3 years.
Over 3 years.
I just think it's getting a little blown out of proportion.
I just don't.
Bull, do you think there is that he has some culpability for perhaps communication problems?
100%.
I think that's 100%. It ain't even affected the skill set. But I think a lot of it could have been remedied.
But let me ask you this,
But
G.
also giving the players a complete pass in some of these situations is unfair.
You can't do that.
None of these guys that you're talking about are you can label as bad people. Right?
Ain't nobody getting in
Odell
trouble.
Beckham has a long history of being I'm not saying he's a bad person.
I don't think if you go down to New Orleans, they say that.
What has he done in New Orleans?
I said that's where he's from.
Fred, he crushed Eli Manning when he left the Giants. Crushed him.
No, I'm not talking about the team.
I'm talking about the locker room.
I'm talking about his hometown. I'm sure they don't say that there.
Watch this.
I didn't say he was a bad guy. I'm saying he's complained before.
He has been disruptive. That's fair to say.
Here's the thing. When you and that's the thing when you talk about when you go in the locker room and you ask any New York Giant, you ask any Cleveland Brown, you go ask the Rams, you say, what do you think about Odell Beckham Jr.? You will get sterling replies about him as a teammate.
You're right.
Exactly.
But it's also fair to say that he crushed Eli Manning out the door in the Giants.
Let me say this here. I probably play one of the most enigmatic. I probably play with one of the most enigmatic players in any sport. So from the outside, when you see Dennis Rodman, what do you think?
Dick.
Yeah.
That what you think?
I think he's a guy.
Great player.
I think he's a guy who's all about energy and winning and knowing his role and doing his part.
Let me tell you what Dennis Rodman is as a person. He's one of the best people you could be around. He's not he's not what you see on TV. He's not that guy. He is not. He plays that role, but at a core, that's a quality person.
Right.
Quality. And
all of his teammates have said that.
I did not know it until I got to line up beside him.
Right.
But if you see it on TV, the perception you have is what
right.
a bunch of people around here
I think
have.
he's got mental health issues. That's the way it looks from the outside. But I don't know him personally, and I'll admit, like, I think somebody's a jerk. Like, I don't like Baker, but I don't know him personally. I'm not saying he's a bad guy.
That's what I'm saying.
But I didn't say Odell was a bad guy. I said he's caused problems. He's stirred the pot before.
Yeah, I think,
and
Kareem
Hunt
on
is
so
a bad
many of
guy
these
or
issues,
has done bad things.
on so many of these issues, we always say this: somewhere in the middle lies the truth.
Yeah.
I think the smartest thing that's been said about this discussion is if you're pointing all the fingers at one place, you're not looking at it in totality. The players have some culpability.
Yeah.
The head coach has some culpability.
100%.
I will say this, though, in defense of your points, it's more on the head coach to make sure that the relationships are great. The players have to pull some, but the head coach has to do the heavy lifting.
Let me ask you this. And somebody said it in the gym the other day when I was working out. Do you think the things that happened here would happen under Tomlin?
No.
Well, Antonio Brown, what happened with him?
Well, I mean,
not as many, but it happened.
The difference. This is what people on the street think.
Yeah.
Right. This is not my opinion. This is what people on the street think.
Well, they've had their problems too, especially with wide receivers.
They think the difference between the Browns and Steelers organization is this: it's culture.
I'll give you that.
There's a culture.
But I think that culture goes all the way to the top.
Goes to the top.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not putting
part of the problem.
That's part of the problem.
I just think in the end, some of to me, the Hunt, Njoku, and Landry have nothing to do with Stefanski. I don't think he takes any blame in those. Those are all about contracts. Now, the Odell thing, definitely Stefanski gets some of the blame. Clowney, I'll give him some of the blame, less for me than the Odell thing. Certainly the Myles Garrett thing, I'm giving Stefanski some of the blame there.
Right.
Who else did we mention?
Baker.
I mean, Baker, come on. Again, they were moving on to another quarterback.
Well, here's some people say, and you got to think about this too. We can't look at it in a vacuum. You got to take it and look at the whole timeline, because as all these things are happening, guys moving in. Think about this, man. What did they? Even when they traded Troy Hill, right? Mm-hmm. That's a veteran, respected dude in the locker room, right?
He was terrible though here.
But here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
They're looking at you like, if he was that terrible, why'd you bring him in?
But gee, that's part of football that happens on every team. Come on now.
That's
fair.
No, what I'm
and by the way, for Tomlin, you've had a number of things.
Troy Hill's playing great this year, by the way.
All right, fine, but he wasn't great here.
Well, no, I think that was the part of it.
That's an indictment on the defensive coaching
That's the part
staff,
of it,
no
yeah,
doubt.
because he was great before. Yeah. He came here and was awful, and then left and became that guy again,
by the way,
as did Odell Beckham.
Steelers, there's been a number of Steelers players over the years who have complained about contracts, including Le'Veon Bell, who held out for a whole year. Is Mike Tomlin to blame for that?
No,
of course not.
I look at it more than contracts. I look at it more in production.
No, but you lumped all those guys together. And blaming Stefanski for the guys who made comments about their contract is not fair.
No, it's just like when we talk about in the press, right? When you're in the press, right, you don't do yourself any service when you aren't as transparent as you could be. Some stuff you don't got to keep to yourself. Some stuff is throwaway. Nobody's going to, you're not giving nothing away by saying certain things to the media, giving them something, right? Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to build a relationship with them and say, all right, well, look, don't hammer me all the time. This is what we're looking for. So when you're doing this, you got to get to a point where your team says, you know what, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I ask everybody this question. Who is Stefanski's spokesperson in the locker room? Who is his guy? Every coach has a guy.
He ain't got one.
And that guy,
he don't have one.
He whips the votes.
Right.
I need them votes.
He whips the votes.
He whips them votes.
Yes, he does.
And I don't know who it is.
You know what makes the whole thing tricky in the end is because there is a small part of me that thinks they should probably fire Stefanski and move on. There's a small part of me. The problem is that I have no faith in the leader of the organization.
And I'm with you, Bull, and that's why.
I'm like, well, okay.
Who they bring in?
Part of me is like, well, if I were the owner of the Browns, I would trust myself to know for sure because as the owner of the Browns, I should have a good knowledge of whether or not Kevin Stefanski is the right guy, more than we would, because we're not in the building.
Before you fire
but
someone, who's taking his place?
I don't trust Jimmy to make that decision.
I don't
but we
either.
got no
And
choice.
that's why I'm okay with the coach we have, because the devil you know sometimes is far better than the devil you don't. And his track record of bringing dudes in.
Yeah.
Now, if you
It's
told me you could get Sean Payton, all right, I got a different mind.
Sean Payton is not coming to Cleveland.
But if I'm taking another crapshoot guy, then I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Because here's the thing. The person who's really in charge, when you look at it, is the hand of the king. The person who has his ear, that's who's really running it.
I'm so glad you said that, because I wanted to wrap this topic up with a question for all of you guys.
Okay.
I want a ranking 1 to 3. Who runs the Browns? You know, when you think about the Chiefs, it's clear. Well, it's Andy Reid.
Yeah.
When you think about the Patriots, it's easy. Bill Belichick. Now, they've earned those roles because they've consistently won. So I'm not saying that should be where Kevin Stefanski is the king here.
When you say runs the Browns, what do you mean?
Who's won the power struggle here? And don't for a second think that there hasn't been a power struggle going on here.
In terms of
it happens in every
on the field, or you talking organization?
Off the field.
Oh, I think it's Jimmy Haslam.
Oh, Jimmy.
Okay, so he's one.
I think so.
Who's 2?
DePodesta.
That's my 2 also.
You see, I
think you're right.
I believe.
He too.
I believe, and I don't know this. This is just my belief, that Berry, DePodesta, and Stefanski are basically a team.
Jason has said that for the first time in his years around the Browns, that they're all singing the same notes.
Yeah.
So they're a chorus. They're working together. That's fine. But if you're off key, they're singing the wrong song.
Right.
And so if that's true, and I have to trust that Jason's perception of that is correct. If that's true, I'm beginning to wonder, what sheet music are they singing off of?
Yeah, very smart.
They may all be singing together, but is it a beautiful, harmonious choir?
That's fair.
And then so the other thing, and Brad, you can wrap this up, because I didn't think anybody would have my 3, but my 3 is Jimmy Haslam, and that right off the bat is a huge problem.
Yes.
Right.
Number 2 is Paul DePodesta.
Yep.
And number 3 is Andrew Berry.
That's my order.
And I don't know that the coach should be 1, 2, or 3, but he damn well better be in the top 3. And I'm not sure Stefanski is here. I think that's the problem.
And you look at the organizations where the owner is the end all be all, they never have success.
How often does Rooney get involved with what the Steelers are doing?
Never.
And even Kraft with the Patriots.
And I just
By the way,
but Jerry Jones is always in where the
Bengals.
Cowboys are.
Mike Brown, the last couple of years, has finally taken a backseat for the first time. Not that they haven't had any success under him, they have. But it's not a surprise that their best 2-year stretch is when he's finally taken a backseat and his daughter is basically now running it, and she lets the football people. She's involved, but she's not as involved as Brown was.
Really quickly, I think they're smarter than we give them credit for, because they've done a good job of insulating DePodesta. You can't even get to him. He's not here.
He doesn't live here.
He don't live here.
And I think that's a huge problem. So he's not accountable.
So you can't even question what
he
he's doing.
talks like once every 3 years.
And quite frankly, that setup is set up to fail.
That is weird. I never liked that he didn't live here. It's
What's
bizarre.
your power structure? Who's your top 3?
Well, Jimmy's at the top.
Yep.
I don't think anything goes by Jimmy without him blessing it, right? And I think DePodesta's in second, and I think Andrew Berry's a distant third.
Do you have Bull? Did you have Stefanski at 3, or who did you have at 3?
I have it as a 3-way tie for 2 between those 3 guys. I think they're all tandem. But if I had to choose, I would say I would actually say Haslam 1, DePodesta 2, and Stefanski.
Stefanski don't have no juice. None.
If they tied,
he has no juice. He on the totem pole.
If one get fired, don't that mean all of them get fired?
No.
If they 3.
If they're all on the same page.
All the same.
I think if you're going to fire Stefanski, then you should fire all 3 and start over. Yeah. I don't want that to happen, honestly, but I think so.
I think that the reason I wanted to do this exercise is because I felt that we would get to a conclusion where the head coach wasn't in the triumvirate of power.
He's not.
And I think that is a problem.
If that's the case, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Huge problem.
All right.
Next.
So we settled something here.
Yeah, we did. Look
We
at
settled
that.
something here. Well done,
Look
guys.
at
Proud of us, guys.
Look at that. We did something.
Wholehearted show conclusion. That never happened.
Love
I
it.
would, by the way, real quick, Steve Becker asked, would you take Jim Harbaugh? I would. I would take Jim Harbaugh.
Wow, that's a great question.
Why you gonna open
Steve.
that can of worms?
See how he did it?
Yeah.
See how
Rapid
Steve
fire.
did that?
Rapid fire. Harbaugh, yes or no?
No.
No fence riders right now.
I'm not a Michigan guy.
You guys hate Michigan? All right, Mikey, go.
I'm a winning guy, and Harbaugh has won, but he brings a lot of stuff that we don't need in Cleveland.
A lot of baggage.
A lot of baggage.
All right.
So we're going to turn the page to NBA stuff, right?
We got a few minutes of Donovan Mitchell before we get headlines. We'll bring Tyvis in. We got the Quell. Mitchell not playing tonight against Denver. Jay, as you alluded to earlier, a bit of a white flag game tonight. They got a 6-game road trip on the West Coast. They're going to sit out tonight.
Right.
Denver
Garland
played
playing?
last night.
No.
He out too.
Darius is also out.
too.
Mobley, you better be pulling up. Evan Mobley, if you listening, you better be ISOing on that corner doing. Evan
I want
Mobley.
40 from him tonight.
60.
I think this could be a double-digit loss. I think the Cavs probably know that going in. Your two Stallions are watching. That's never a good thing. Here's what we want to talk about, because I was surprised he was 10th. But the NBA, and on NBA.com, they have their
it
MVP
updates
ladder.
every Monday, so this came out before 71.
I know it was.
So
I
it's
know.
going to be a little different next week. But
Yeah, but I'm still just surprised, even to his body of work before a Monday,
Yeah.
that he would be that low. So the NBA.com, they do an MVP ladder. It's basically sort of a in-progress ranking 1 to 10 on where things go for the MVP. And he was 10th, which I just thought, forget the 71. I just thought that he had done enough to at least be, in my view, in the top 6.
Well, who was in front?
Here we
Let's
go.
see if
I
you
got
can
it.
name them.
Yeah.
Can you name them off the top without looking?
So
Yes.
I looked at number 1.
Giannis.
So it's Giannis,
Jokic,
Jokic,
Luka,
Luka,
Tatum.
Kevin Durant.
Tatum. I
Kevin
don't know if
Durant.
Durant is.
Oh, wait, breaking news, guys. It has been updated this morning. It updates on
Oh.
Fridays. Not.
Wonderful. Where is he?
7th.
Wow, so he jumped up 3 spots.
Tied for 7th. Tied for 7th.
Okay.
It currently goes Jokic at 1, Tatum at 2, Durant at 3, Luka at 4, Giannis at 5,
I'm stunned
Embiid
Giannis is
6,
that low.
Morant and Mitchell tied for 7th, Jaylen Brown 9th, Zion at 10.
So who are you putting him ahead of?
Ooh.
And by the way, the numbers this season, Mitchell's averaging 29.3, 4 and 4. They're putting up NBA NBA 2K video game like numbers.
Giannis is averaging 33, 12, and 5.
To me, Giannis is the guy. I can't believe he's 5.
listen to
I
this.
just think he's the MVP.
Luka's averaging 34, 9, and 9.
It's been amazing.
That's impossible.
Durant's averaging 37 and 6. And they've been on fire.
Right.
Tatum's averaging 31, 8, and 4.
This is crazy.
And Jokic is averaging 25, 11, and 10. He's averaging
the way-
almost. He's a half a assist shy of averaging a triple.
And LeBron nowhere to be seen.
And LeBron
LeBron is nowhere to be seen, but Tyvis is, and Tyvis has to join this conversation. Steve,
Tyvis,
can you
I know
please
where-
Pop up Tyvis, please.
Oh, my goodness.
There's an also receiving votes from 11 to 15. LeBron's in that.
He is. So he's in the top 15 then.
Yeah.
We see you, Ty. We see you, bro. I'm with you, though. I on this particular argument, I'm not saying GOAT all-time great. I'm saying that I still think he is the most unstoppable player in the NBA right now.
Tyvis, don't talk because you're log off, log back in. Your audio's not connected.
audio-
I mean,
Audio's
think
gone.
about Milwaukee. Their second best player, Chris Middleton. How many games has he played?
I know.
10,
How many?
5,
9.
6.
He's played 9 games. So
Yeah.
they have they're 2 games out of first or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which their second best players basically missed the whole first half.
Scoring, listen, this is Alex English days,
Well,
bro.
they're-
Y'all the guys want to run up.
Bernard King.
It's not even that. They've rewritten all the rules
We
so
gotta
that
get
you
those,
so that you can
Nuggets
score all
jerseys.
day now. They've taken the emphasis off of defense in this league, and
Right.
to sell to the mass
Sure.
market, and they're doing that by points.
And it's worked.
Yeah.
And so it's worked to that standpoint, but now this where it doesn't work. This where it doesn't work at. It doesn't work at from this standpoint. When we get to these playoffs, and
That's where-
you got to stop somebody.
Yep.
And you can't stop somebody.
That's why I
what's
think
gonna
it
be a
might make the
problem.
playoffs more exciting, because usually you look at 1 through 8 and chalk doesn't always hold, but your 1s and 2s are usually in the finals. But I was going to ask you that, Brad, because it's almost two different sports. One is a free-for-all, go get all the points you can, but we know that is absolutely not the way it goes in the playoffs. So that's why I actually like the Cavaliers, because I think the Cavs can play defense when they absolutely have to.
Well, I tell you that it's a work in progress. I listen to what JB says after every game when I'm doing the broadcast, that I don't think they bought into it as much as he would have liked them to be, because he knows where this is trending to. Right now, this league is set up so now, like, the more clicks I get online for the flashier stuff I do, that's what I like, right? The thing that's been impressive the last 2 games is that when they've needed to get stops, they found a way to get them.
Yes.
And that's how you win, right? Yeah, it's for show. It's for theater. But when we get down to the real nitty-gritty, these top 8 teams,
that, by the way, is why I think Giannis is the MVP.
You better be able to, because here, when you talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo,
when he wants to
that's
get
a freight train coming at you.
He's almost unstoppable when he decides, I'm going to take this thing over.
I do think Luka Doncic deserves a lot of credit.
I mean,
he's got nobody on that team. I mean, who's their second best player? I don't even know who it is.
Christian Wood is the answer.
Oh,
my
think Spencer Dinwiddie.
No, he's not there anymore, right?
No, he's on Dallas, but Christian Wood's their second best player.
Yeah, so they got, so this is what it is.
I mean, that guy's crazy good.
Getting back to Donovan Mitchell, I would just tell you, it has not been a surprise to me. I told you I used to stay up late and watch him in Utah. And
but he's playing his best basketball, isn't
but
he?
you put him around better talent. He's got much better talent than he had in Utah.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he had a great big man.
And now the other thing is, he's been energized again. He's been energized to sit here and say, okay. And you see, when you really see the super performances are this. It seems to be when Darius is out, you see the super performances.
Yeah, he goes Super Saiyan. He go level 2 when he out. And I'm gonna tell you this, man. Y'all can push him up. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, if you listen and you look at the Cavs fans in general, Cavs got a great home court advantage, and I'm gonna keep saying it. Y'all can get him pushed up, because if you think about it, I think they'd be giving the MVP away in about after the All-Star break, March. Yeah. When you get them little couple 20 games and you start to figure out whether you're gonna clinch, I think they give the MVP away during that time. They're looking at it, and it makes more sense, because now you wanna rush, you wanna figure out where you stack. And last year the Cavs collapsed down the backstretch. This year, with his mentality, they're not going to.
Oh, that's not happening.
That's not happening.
Well, let me ask you this, Brad.
And we got Tyvus, by the way. Whenever we want to bring him in.
Let me just ask Brad this, because you talk about what JB's been saying, that he's not happy. Like, I know this last game was a low-scoring game, but before that, their defense has been pretty awful the last few games, right? And I know, as you said, in general in the league, the defense hasn't been great. Yeah. But with these veteran teams, you have more confidence. Well, we know they can turn it on because they've done it before in the playoffs. But, like, how confident are you that this team's defense is going to be good enough in the playoffs, especially in the backcourt?
Well, I'll say this, that, there has to be a commitment. Defensively, has to be a commitment made. And I don't think that commitment has been there on a nightly basis. The other thing I thought they were one piece away. I think they're 2 pieces away, right?
Oh, so when did you upgrade them pieces?
Yeah, well, I thought they just needed to come out.
When I didn't see the defensive stops, right?
Okay.
Right. Because I know what wins down the stretch. I know what fails during the season, but that isn't also what wins down the stretch, because in order to be deep in the playoff, you got to stop people.
Even though they held off the Bucks, Giannis still made a furious charge.
And now he's on with us.
It's Giannis, so I don't know why you saying that like it's not, the best player in the NBA. I mean, yeah, of course, Giannis is hard to stop, but isn't the Cavs like a top 5 team in defense, or did they drop?
They were.
It was number 1.
I think they're actually still number 1 in points per game allowed.
You stay on the gridiron. You stay on the gridiron, all right?
Stay
out of my space here.
Stay in your lane.
I'm glad that you're saying it, because it ties in. And when me and Bull was arguing about football, about how deep defense is not.
Tyvus, you know this, right? When you're left with the last group standing, here, Ohio State, what can they do down the stretch here? We up double figures. We couldn't get a stop.
Yep.
You couldn't get a stop.
Now, why you
Well, one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest travesties that ever happened in NCAA football.
I moved past it.
But in any sport type, you got to get a stop at some point.
Sure.
And
Guys.
if you can't, it's a problem.
Guys, let me throw a grenade into this right now.
Okay, roll down.
Because isn't this all leading to the Cavs maybe win around this year? Maybe they get to the Eastern Conference Finals next year. And then LeBron comes back and is the final piece to the championship.
That's a grenade.
Yes.
I mean, isn't that where this is going?
That's a grenade.
I know there's some fans that are
And
like,
then
I
retires.
want to win without LeBron. You know what? I just want the Cavs to win. I don't care if, you know. And LeBron's going to be a free agent after next season. And that feels like the timeline when the Cavs are going to win a championship.
And I also feel like things are moving in that direction.
It does feel that way.
Do you think LeBron
He's going to Utah.
Going to Utah.
Yeah, I can see LeBron living in Salt Lake.
Come on.
They got like 4 picks in the draft. I'm sure one of them will be Bronny.
So do you
Tyvis, no black man would ever choose to live in Utah. Are you crazy?
Facts. Karl Malone.
Well, go back and look at what Donovan Mitchell said about his time there.
Karl Malone.
Karl Malone.
Come on now.
Karl Malone.
So
black
Karl Malone didn't have a great career in Utah?
Yeah, but no.
Dwayne
Karl Malone's dead to me.
Wade owns it. He owns a part of it.
Man, I'm gonna tell you
You ain't
what,
what that's for
I could see LeBron James not forcing himself out of LA after this year. If it don't look any better.
I mean,
I can
why
see
would he sign? I don't understand what he
The
was
only
doing.
problem
I don't
is
either.
I think for the Cavs, they need to get him as a free agent and not a trade, don't they?
Yeah, they can't give up pieces. They
I
don't have,
agree.
you know,
Right.
Be surprised what people will do.
You never know.
Can we get a
Never know.
3-team trade?
You know, I'm gonna tell you, I'm a trade that need that. A trade that needs to happen. Dame Lillard gets traded to the Bucks because he wants to play with Giannis.
I'm gonna need you.
Yeah, do you want a space
His
shuttle for
contract is
Christmas,
way,
too?
they can't have 2 double supermaxes though.
No.
He's making like $300 million.
Well,
a
listen,
year.
we
Giannis
will give
contract
up
a year.
everybody but Giannis. All we need is those 2. And yes, we as
So when did you become a Bucks guy?
Are you out of your mind, Tyvis?
I know you're a Bucks guy.
We've known that
I know
for a long
I know you're a
time.
Bucks
That
guy.
internet connection is also messing with his
Yeah, we
brain
got it.
functions.
Yeah, it is.
The
Tyvis,
Bucks
you're-
have won a championship with the team they have.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Middleton's a hell of a player.
No,
I know he's been hurt.
wait a minute. Let me log out and come back. Hold on.
Log
Wait
out.
a minute.
All right, go
Tyvis,
you to
Tyvis, when you log out,
I
come
need
back
you to
on the
upgrade your
headphones.
By the way,
internet.
Move
I
on.
thought for a football player, Tyvis would have bigger arms than he does.
Wow.
He's a
Shots
defense-
fired.
He's a defensive back.
Shots fired.
I mean, I got more guns than Tyvis does.
He's a big defensive back though. We're gonna get to headlines next. So when Tyvis comes in,
All right, we'll do his
real
last.
quick though,
Wanna-
I did put in the chat in the rundown of the 6 young stars. Real quick, we're waiting for Tyvis.
Yeah.
Where do you rank Mitchell among the 6? And for the people
And we're
wondering,
going like Giannis,
it was
Jokic.
Mitchell, Jokic,
Luka.
Luka, Tatum, Giannis, Ja Morant. Those 6.
Okay.
Where do you put Mitchell?
I
on that
love
list?
him, but I'd still put him 5 ahead of Ja Morant. That's it.
I'm with you. I do think he's better than Ja, but not by much.
Yeah.
I think they're
I
very
mean, they're
close.
all fantastic.
I think they're
Yeah.
the same.
I
Almost
think
the
they're the
dude.
same people.
They're same dude.
Same.
Yeah,
same
they're very similar.
Same effect.
You know what jumps out
You
to me
can't
at
put
that
him
list?
ahead of Luka or Jokic.
3
or
of those
Giannis.
are born outside the United States.
Jay, help me,
Yeah.
because somebody was asking me the other day. They don't know how to buy and become a member here. So the paying coaches tier member. They don't understand
Mikey,
how
can
to
you
do
explain it to them?
Yeah, I mean, let's
You
break
go
it
to
down.
the YouTube
Very
page.
simple.
There's a join button. So you go to Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on YouTube. On the main page, there's a join button. You click the join button, and it takes you to the sign up.
I'm glad you brought
Very
that
good
up
question.
because if one person is wondering that,
Yeah.
there's probably a lot of
We
people
should
that are
record
wondering
like
that.
a 30-second tutorial to be able to show
Right.
it to
Could we
people.
just
I've
change
heard
the
that.
join button
I've
to
heard that a
join
number of
member
times
or
this
like
week.
or become a member? So it doesn't say join, but it says
I think
become
it's
a member.
I think we asked Ian about that. I think it's a YouTube setting that to
Good
become
one,
member.
YouTube.
Let's
to
do a
join.
30-second tutorial that we can run every day
Yeah,
on the show
we can do
or
that.
something. Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Label it how to become a member, and
Yeah.
our resident tech expert Bull can talk people
Oh, yeah.
through it.
Talk
Me,
people through
no
it.
doubt.
Exactly.
Now, what's the HTTP protocol? Do you know
That's
that?
a hot tomato tamale pizza.
All right, Tyvis, while you were gone, we talked about ranking young
Well,
players.
first I gotta let Tyvis defend himself because if I
You sure you want to defend him with those arms?
if I bust somebody's chops, I always bust their chops to their face. I never do it behind their back. I said, Tyvis, for a
Oh, look,
DP,
he's-
So,
Look,
hey, don't
Oh,
push,
you heard.
don't
He's
push him up.
flexing up
I
now.
thought you'd have bigger arms for an NFL player.
What'd he say?
Said you got a
What'd
bunch
he
of stretch
say?
marks. That's what they said.
I said I thought your arms would be bigger for an NFL player. I thought you'd have more jacked
Oh,
arms.
no.
Back there to get
No, you know, boy, the thing is, man.
Yeah.
So naturally I'm skinny, so it was hard for me to like look jacked. So once you done playing and you don't lift the same, you just get skinny again. Obviously for you, it was the opposite thing. You and G. Bush, you kind of went the opposite way.
Yeah.
My arms are jacked. I'm jacked, Davis.
Sun's out.
Anyways.
Thomas, I will say, I see you kept it in the family. Buckeyes, Bucks, I got it. I pulled it together, right? I see there's some affinity there.
No. So let me explain. I became a Giannis. I became a Giannis fan the day Kevin Durant decided to go to Golden State. That's when I became a Giannis fan. So whatever day that was before Giannis became great. So, it's just I see things early. You can see greatness. Like I spotted at that's probably why I should go into recruiting, man. I could probably look at a kid and say that kid right there is going to be good.
I think so. Top 2 or 3. Mike, by the way, who were those 6 players?
I might need to look into it.
Giannis, Jokic, Luka, Tatum, Ja, Mitchell.
You know what's good about those guys, too? Not only are they all great players, and obviously I don't know any of them personally, they seem to all be very likable players.
Good dudes.
The NBA's in very good hands.
Yeah, they're all likable guys.
Next wave of, and as I said, this next wave of superstars has arrived.
Ja?
Go ahead.
Ja is in the news for something, ain't he? Ain't Ja in the news for something?
I might have missed that.
What we missed?
No, I think Ja he fought like a 17-year-old kid or something like that, didn't he?
Oh, wow, I did not see that.
Never know telling what's going on in Memphis.
What you been doing?
I thought one of the interesting things, we've seen the European wave and the foreign influence wave has been here for a long time. Right. But we're talking about those are the 6 young superstars in the league right now, and 3 of them are foreign players.
Yeah, because the game has become international, and so they have taken it out. Where we stopped playing for a while and focusing on youth sports.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, that went overseas and global.
Yeah,
and they do it big time over there, right? And that's what you've seen. You remember Giannis came in, he was skinny as a rail.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Man,
he was very skinny.
I feel like when you played. And a little after that, it always felt like the European players were soft.
They were different,
right? And now I feel like they're soft, but I feel like that reputation is not as bad.
Well, because they took the league went global.
Yeah,
players, NBA players start playing overseas.
Right.
American coaches start coaching overseas,
and they brought that brand with them.
And it brought that brand. And then the thing that helped them was the NBA sold its TV package to Europe and the rest of the world. Yeah. So they would stay up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, seeing those games. We see it at 6 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night, and that's how they got better.
Yeah. I think the NBA has done the best job of all the leagues in growing their sport internationally.
Yao Ming in Asia.
Yao was the big domino.
Yeah.
And now the number 1 overall prospect in the draft, who is a generational guy.
Yeah, where's he from, this guy?
Victor
Wembanyama. Trauma for Wama.
He's supposed to be the next great player.
He's going to be better than Giannis.
Giannis is.
He's going to be better than Giannis.
Tyvus is trying to be his agent already.
You are, Tyvus?
I'm just saying.
Oh, Tyvus has been singing his praises for months here on the UCSS. Okay.
I got the answer. Wait a second. Before we get to anything, I think Tyvus should be Speaker of the House. They can't figure it out. Let's make Tyvus
He
the Speaker of the House.
could bring this country together.
Maybe on the 12th vote, you should all vote for Tyvus.
Wait a minute. Listen, Bull, I'm gonna let you know this is classified information, and I'm gonna say it because my wife is upstairs. The ladies have told me that I have had a way with words. Smooth.
The ladies have told me.
See?
You'll get
silky smooth.
I never realized you didn't have to be in the house to be the speaker.
No, you do not.
I didn't know that until recently.
Hey, Tyvus, you can't be running around talking about, I got feelings for you. You be lying, bro. Stop lying.
No. That was back in the day. G. I can't. My phone don't even work no more. It only got one number in it now.
Tyvus, if you're that good a smooth talker, you got to talk your wife into moving to Cleveland.
He says his phone don't even work.
It ain't happening.
We got to get the headlines, guys.
We got
to get the headlines. I can't
pull that one.
All right, sorry. Go ahead.
No, Tyvus has the first headline.
Tyvus, give us your headline. Your pre-written headline for the Brown Steelers.
Yeah, the Browns make history, and I ain't gonna say Nick Chubb gonna break the record. It's gonna be because they marked the first losing season in Tomlin era.
Oh, okay.
Just think that Brown game, that ground game going to come. Obviously, they're going to feed Nick Chubb, and they're going to try to get him to break the record and get him as close as he can at least. But I think that ultimately it's about physicality, you know, and I think that obviously they got TJ Watt and they got Cam Hayward, go Bucks. But I just, for some odd reason, I think it's the last game. Let's go ahead and ride this thing out. Deshaun Watson is starting to look better, but I think Nick Chubb has been and will always be the key piece to getting Deshaun to become better. And I think in his little 20 carries that he get, he'll break a couple of them. Just my thought.
Very good. I like
Tyvus.
it. I hope you're right.
Have a good
Tyvus, have a
weekend.
great
Tyvus,
weekend.
thank you, brother.
We'll see you next week.
All right, Slim.
Work on those arms. Work
See
on
y'all.
jacking up there a little bit.
Don't do that. What you mean? I just protein shake. Look at
There you
that.
go.
Look at that.
There you go.
We go from one skinny former NFL player to a jacked NFL player. What up, DeQuell?
Yeah.
Those are arms right there. That's a man's arms right there.
I think we have audio
can't hear
problems with DeQuell, too.
Can't hear him.
DeQuell, log off, log back on. We're getting audio levels. We can't hear you. We'll come back to you in 1 sec.
Well, it
You know,
messed
this
with the
Viva
system.
system's weird. it shows us levels in here, but then we can't hear him. So
Let's
he
go.
logs
Pull it
off, he logs
together
back
behind
on.
there, will you?
Then we'll
Gremlin?
Jay, while we're
Gremlin's
waiting
in
for
the-
DeQuell to get back,
All right.
it's your headline.
Yeah, I'm not as optimistic as Tyvus. I just believe that the Steelers have a reason to play this game, and the Browns bring more dysfunction into this game. I think everybody's looking to cleaning out their locker and getting this season to hell behind them. It's been a season from hell if you really go back and think about it.
from the beginning.
So I think the Steelers win this one at the end, but the bigger headline is a very bizarre, unconventional, drama-filled season is finally, thankfully, over. That's my headline.
G. Bush, you're up next.
Let's get to these headlines.
He forgot.
I don't memorize these.
I don't either.
I'm like, y'all memorize these? I'm like,
Wow.
dang, I'm behind. Going out of style.
Ah, look at the jacket. LL.
Browns win 31-12. Watson serves up a tailor-made loss for the Steelers.
You should put GNN up there.
Hey,
We made these early.
Yeah, okay.
Before the GNN nickname
The
came
one
up.
thing on the 2 L's on the jacket, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, you better check this because this is off the top of my head. I think if the Browns win, it'll be the first time since '88 that they've swept the Steelers in the regular season.
Yeah, it's been a while. I know that.
I think that's the case.
And technically, the Browns will finish in third, even though they're tied with the same.
If they win. If they
Yeah.
lose, obviously they bring up the rear.
Right.
So.
yeah, man.
And by the way, we all at the beginning of this season, when we were saying where are they going to be, most of our predictions were 8-9 or 9-8.
Yeah, I had them 8-9 and the Steelers 7-10.
No, I drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I know you did.
I
drank
said
the Kool-Aid.
8 something. I think I said 9 wins.
That's
We'll
why
go
I'm
back
sitting-
and look, but I'm pretty sure
that's why I'm
everyone said
sitting here
8-9,
silent.
9-8.
Yeah.
The Quell,
And we got
Once we
the
knew the
Quell back.
suspension was
the
11 games.
Quell is back. The Quell, what's that
Well,
headline,
what's your headline,
baby?
brother?
We can't hear him.
Oh, no.
It still shows
Going
audio.
on.
It shows we're getting
We don't want
audio levels
excuses,
in here.
Mikey. We want problems fixed. Let's go.
We want results.
DeQuell, I'm gonna send you a brand new link. Hold on,
Yeah, get the Quell
New
together.
link for DeQuell. Let's put up Brad's headline then.
I got to ask the Quell.
DeQuell, I'm gonna send you the line for line 1. Hold on.
DeQuell on line 1.
Here we go. Look, the Browns are making progress in the win, right? I'm looking for just a better performance offensively. Watson's trending. Yeah.
Okay.
I like that
I
Watson
like
is like
trending.
coming out of
I like
his
He's in his head. He's in Stefanski's head.
He like Cardi B. He keep condos in his head.
He's
But listen, and with the
Stefanski's
Kool-Aid,
dome.
you said bring that back up. I want you to get the last bit of Kool-Aid here. Bring that back up, Mikey.
By the way, I think Brad
said-
has picked the Browns to win every week.
Yeah.
17-0.
I'm a homer. Look, Stefanski saves his job because people around here won't call a spade a spade. He would be getting his coat the same day too out the locker room. Let me holler at you an hour later, bruh.
All right.
We moving on.
Saved you. Hey, come on, let me come over here, man. It's me and you.
I don't think Doug Collins even got back home that day. They were like, "You come over here and see me,
Hey,
son."
that's the saving grace. That's the saving grace for that man, bro.
You come
that
over here, son.
These keep something. That 230 people was mad about. but listen, Stefanski's like, thank God for that 230. That's the only thing keeping me around here. Listen, they better revamp his stuff, man. I can't believe it. He's gonna be the last man standing.
All right, last headline.
Want to do
It's, yeah,
Bull?
Bull's the last headline, and Bull, we had to edit a little bit just for.
I didn't say F, by the way.
We have
I did say F, but not EFF.
a little editorial discretion.
F those
But Bo,
Yinzers.
you did have me and Anthony in tears when you sent us that.
Browns spoil Steelers season. Pittsburgh finishes under 500. There you go. Listen.
Anthony didn't know what a Yinzer was, by the way. He's like, how could I find a picture of a Yinzer? And I'm like,
it's because I'm a better Clevelander than Anthony is.
Yeah.
You know?
He's from Parma. Is that even
Actually,
count?
I've spent more years as an adult in Cleveland than Anthony has.
That's crazy.
That's true.
Because he just recently became one.
It's borderline. It's borderline.
The verdict's still out, Anthony.
Yeah, exactly.
We love you, but we're not sure yet if you're still a child or you
Yes.
have made the transition into adulthood.
That's true. But, hey, listen, I thought I had it in the bag.
Yeah.
The victory lap was
Well, hell,
already
at
being
2-6,
done.
it looked
2-6,
like it was
I thought
a
in the
done
bag.
deal.
Dunsky.
And I gave Aditi a chance to kill me yesterday, but that's not her style. I'm going to be so angry if the Browns lose this game. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I think the Browns want to spoil the Steelers season.
I think there's something
I don't think
to
there's
that.
any doubt about it.
But here's the question.
Yeah.
Is the Steelers' desire to make the playoffs stronger than the Browns' desire to spoil the Steelers' season?
Probably, but the teams in that scenario don't always win, right? We see it
No.
all the time.
No.
Remember the Colts last year? All they had to do was beat a bad Jacksonville team, and they couldn't do it.
Yep.
Speaking of which, it's been so bizarre. Think about this. The Dolphins have lost
5 in a row.
5 in a row.
Yeah.
The Jets have lost 5 in a row. The Titans have lost 6 in a row. Meanwhile,
And the Lions and Jacksonville are going the other way.
Jacksonville and Pittsburgh were both 2-6, and now Jacksonville win and they're in.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh win and they have a chance. By the way, there is if Jacksonville, even if they lose to Tennessee, which I doubt they will, but if they lose, they still could get in. If the Patriots, Dolphins, and Steelers all lose, then Jacksonville would get in as a wild card even if they lose.
That's
wild.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
What Urban says.
You know, I think Doug Peterson's genius credentials have been renewed. I really do.
I mean, and Urban looks really bad.
Because, by the way, when you
Yeah.
look at what Doug Peterson did with Nick Foles and winning that Super Bowl,
And with Carson Wentz.
that might go with, well,
Carson
but-
Wentz was only good with him.
right. It's easy to look at this guy now and say, wait a minute, maybe he's the new John Gruden.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the guy that can get things out of players at quarterback because, oh, by the way, what's happened to Carr since Gruden's been out of town in Vegas?
Yeah, he has
Like
a bad year.
His star has
Yeah.
fallen dramatically.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and maybe Stefanski is that guy, because Stefanski's success with Jacoby Brissett, when Brissett left after Week 11, I think his QBR was top 10.
Yeah,
No one saw that coming.
His
It was
PFF
like 8,
grade
I
was
think it was
good.
8, like almost 8.
Yeah, I mean, no
it was
one
the
saw
best
that
Brissett's
coming.
ever played in his career.
Baker
Yeah,
probably played his best football
no doubt.
in his first year with Stefanski.
Yeah.
So that's why the patience on Stefanski, I'm just so tempted by what could become of the offense with Stefanski and a full Deshaun Watson for a season.
You just make my point for me.
I wanna see
It's
that.
always with lesser talent. He's winning.
Well, let's see what he can
But
do with
he
the
hasn't
superstar
had
quarterback for a year.
right.
I just think if you fire him before this year, you're acting too soon.
Too soon.
I do. I do.
I agree.
We've talked. Hold on. We talked about all this kind of off the beat trail. We talked about all these coaches. The guy we haven't talked about is Van Pelt.
Well, because what does he do?
Well, I mean, he is a big part of the game plan, right?
Is he?
Is he?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I assume so. I don't think he's just there as a figurehead. I don't.
He's Scott Pioli.
No, I think,
Might be.
say what you want.
A lot of younger kids, the younger guys are, who is Scott?
Whatever
Yeah.
you think about
Google it.
Stefanski, good or
Patriots.
bad, I think he's a collaborative guy. I think he and Van Pelt work on the. Again, I don't
Jason
know for sure.
insisted he is.
I think they
Do
work
you-
on the game plan
do you
together.
Think, do you think Van Pelt at some point says, "Hey, dude, I want to"?
I want to be an OC
wanna-
somewhere.
Of course. Well, he is an OC, but you want to be a play caller. Every guy wants to be a play caller. Yeah, certainly.
I would like them to. I would like them to find an outside passing consultant or passing coordinator.
This is a passing game coordinator.
Yes.
Other teams have them.
I would like, because I'm confident in their run
Do
concepts.
they not have one? I don't know.
I don't think they got one.
No,
I'm confident in
I
their
don't
run
think so.
concepts. I don't know how I feel about their pass
it-
concepts.
what I will say this, and I agree with you.
Because you said something earlier about
Yeah.
changing the way they play.
They got to
offense.
play. Stefanski's never had a quarterback with this kind of skill set, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, part of me says, well, yeah, like you say, they're passing concepts. There's issues. But the other part is, well, maybe he has better concepts, but he didn't have the talent, especially at quarterback,
Maybe we'll
to
see
pull
them
it
next
off.
year.
So, but one way or the other, he better have it fixed because there's no reason why this team shouldn't, like Deshaun Watson should throw for a minimum of 4,000 yards. I think it should be 4,500 plus. Yeah. And Nick Chubb should still be able to get 1,200 yards.
Hell, I'd do backflips for 4,000. I really would. I'd be thrilled with 4,000.
Got DeQuell?
DeQuell, welcome back. Can we hear you?
This is line 3. Microphone.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey!
Finally.
Line 3 is
there we go.
I deserve a Nobel Peace Prize and an IT of the Year
Man,
prize
hey,
here.
Mikey, you deserve all the flowers, buddy. You made that work. Oh, my
DeQuell,
goodness.
first of all, how's the Achilles coming along? You feeling okay?
Yeah, it's feeling pretty good, fellas. I'm actually out of the boot. I'm walking in my shoe. I still have some heel lifts, but it's progress. Every week is progress. So I'm
very
feeling
good.
Thanks.
DeQuell, let's talk about Tyvus's arms for a minute. Did you get to see his arms, and how unimpressive are they for a former NFL player?
You know what? Because I'm a guy that's got to lose a little bit of weight, I actually envy Tyvus right now. But the arms were slacking a little bit. But he can do a lot better than that. He can do a lot better. And wait a minute, I had a question for Tyvus. Like, when did he become a Milwaukee's fan? Like,
Jay say you're a front runner. Jay say you're a front runner.
He saw Giannis was going to be great for 10 years, and once he decided that he wasn't going to leave Milwaukee and go to Golden State, he was like, oh, so I could be a Bucks fan because they're going to be good for the next decade.
Right.
He was the kid that in our era came to school with the Cowboys lunchbox.
Right.
Remember them?
And the Yankees.
And the Yankees.
Yes.
And the Celtics.
Were you,
Lakers.
Were you a
He's going
Wizards?
to get a text from me for sure.
DeQuell, were you a Wizards?
Bullets.
Bullets, I guess. Redskins fan as a kid?
Absolutely not. No, I grew up in Florida, so I was
Florida guy.
I'm an idiot.
Diehard Bucks fan, and I've learned living in this area, and all my wife's family, they are diehard Commanders fan, and you know, you watch them, but I don't root for them. I root for the guys that I played with, or either coach with, or something like that. But you know, you learn to love them, but you follow them. I'm actually so I've been to a few. Wizards game, and it's not all that interesting, to be honest with you.
I mean, it's not interesting. So let me dig down on that. So you, as a professional athlete, there's a couple of things pledging allegiance. Like when you watching games, obviously you drafted by the Browns, but you grew up rooting for Tampa Bay because that's your hometown. You currently live in the DC DMV, so obviously that's the team that's on TV locally, but you play for the Colts. How do you view watching football games? And is it just you watch them, or which team has like your heart? Like if I gotta,
Plus, you didn't even mention his buddies that are on different teams.
Yeah, friends on other teams.
But your question is, at the beginning of the season, if you had a pick who you wanted to win the Super Bowl, who would that be? Browns.
Oh, that you guys. Well, I mean, it's the Browns, obviously.
Good.
I mean, that's the easiest answer. I mean, listen, I have connections everywhere. And so, like in Indy, for instance, I had a chance to play with, arguably will be in the Hall of Fame, 2 guys this year, Joe Thomas and Reggie Wayne. So, and I'm still in all that. Reggie Wayne even knows my name, and some other guys I had a chance to. Yeah, Edrin James, we've developed a friendship. And just all the different, guys I've come in contact with that playing in Indy. I mean, they showed me love because I played for them, and you just value the relationships, the friendships, and it's like a big fraternity. No matter what jersey you're wearing, you want to root for the guys that you either played with or the kids are playing now. I'm getting up in that age now, but it's a beautiful thing.
DeQuell, speaking of Joe, I heard Joe actually getting interviewed yesterday on NFL radio, and they actually asked him a really fascinating question about like preparing for games, and you've talked a lot about this, and he talked about how as an offensive lineman, almost all the time, the guy he's going up against is a better athlete. And so he had to be overly prepared. He talked about especially going against Dwight Freeney. Like he was like, I had to gain that split second of edge by studying him so carefully to know what he was going to do, because otherwise he was going to out-athlete me to the ball. I thought it was really fascinating. He is such a student of the game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You can put me in that boat as well because I was never the tallest, strongest, or fastest guy. So I knew at an early age when I entered the league, every running back I'm going to have to guard 1-on-1, every tight end, every slot receiver, everyone is a better athlete than I am. So how do you still approach and be confident that you can get your job done and play at a high level? You had to play the game above the shoulders, and that's where I excelled. And some other intangible things. I had the IQ level, and I had just the self-awareness to understand that, which is easier said than done. Most guys can identify with that. And let's say if you when you start to combine that type of mentality with the skill set like a Joe Thomas, you ended up equating it to a Hall of Fame. And it's a very small margin between the really great players and the Hall of Fame guys. The Hall of Fame guys put in that extra work that have that God-given ability.
Hey, DQ, question for you. You catch this Clowney comment from yesterday?
I did. I read the story
so
this morning.
Tell me what you think that symbolizes from Clowney and out that locker room. Tell me what you think.
You know what? If you would have asked me about his play last week or the week before that or the week prior to that, I would have told you he was playing uninspired football. And reading the comments and understanding what he was talking about, clearly he's upset. He's upset that he hasn't been put in a position to actually move around and make plays. The scheme it was all for Garrett, and rightfully so, because he has 15 sacks right now. He is the number one, the first round draft pick. He is the face of the franchise. What it tells me about Clowney is, he doesn't like the situation he's in. Clearly, Joe Woods. We've talked, we've talked enough about his inability to run this defense, and Clowney's frustration right now. It's clear that he's not happy there. There's something going on that he's unhappy with, and he hasn't been put in a position to exceed. And let's face it, Clowney's never had a double-digit sack season. The most he's had is 9.5. So, again, he's a veteran. He's made his money, as he said. He just wants to be in a position and have people believe in his ability. But quite frankly, he knows where he is in his career. He's not a guy that's going to get you 10+ sacks a game. Right. He's a run stopper. He's a big body. He's hard to move around, and he's trying to collect a check. So, listen, would I have gone out and said all those things to the media? What I would have done, not to say that it's wrong, but I would have had a conversation with the right people, and to let them know my frustration. But it wouldn't have
got to the paper.
Shown up on the field.
DeQuell, the bigger issue here, I think that Brad's leading to, and G. Bush laid out a number of instances where there have been problems between management, coaching staff, and star players in particular. He talked about Njoku, and his was contract related, which Bull points out, and also Hunt, his was contract related. This appears to be contract related. Jarvis Landry's time didn't end well. OBJ's time was a disaster. Baker Mayfield. Do you see that there's a bigger global issue here between coaching staff and these star players that for various reasons have been disgruntled?
Yeah, I know what Brad's getting at. He wants Caskey up out of here.
That's
and
right.
I'm trying to stop him. I can read between the lines.
And I said,
you know what I'm talking about, DQ. You know out of here.
Listen, I think there's a clearly there is. I mean, I can't argue. I can't disagree. I think he can do a much better job of dealing with the big personality players on the team. I agree with you on that. However, it's a tricky situation, right? Because every guy, we don't know whether or not he had some contractual escalators in his contract to say, hey, if I get a certain amount of sacks, I get X amount of dollars. We don't know, because we know teams, with my experience, actually play those games with you.
Yeah, they do.
We don't see you coming back. We're not going to let you hit your incentives and pay you all this money. So there's a lot of different things that's part of this situation here. But listen, at the end of the day, my honest opinion about Joe Woods and this defense, I don't think he should be back. I think they have to cut bait with him because clearly he's not been able to, identify an asset or a guy like Jadeveon. You can use him in certain situations. You can get the best out of him, and he seems just to be a guy this year. And unfortunately, it spilled over to the rest of this defense when they've underachieved dramatically this season. But I don't think Kevin Stefanski, not yet. I give him one more year. I give him a mulligan this year. Because of,
soft on crime, bro.
Soft on crime.
Hey, but that's a campaign. He did with the campaign slogan, DeQuell Jackson.
Soft
He was with the Browns. His defense was soft then. Now he's soft on crime.
Well, let me ask you this, because I posed this to the panel earlier, and I'm really curious to get your take and what you think the proper power structure should be.
Real quick, Jay.
Yeah.
Stefanski speaking to the media, he would not say whether or not Clowney will play on Sunday.
That's what I'm talking about.
Would not
I can't.
I mean, that's.
I cannot.
I can't imagine. They sent him home. He's not playing.
I mean, it's clear dysfunction. He's mad at everybody. He's mad at Kevin Stefanski. He's mad at the whole operations of how everything has transpired this season. That's obvious. And I'm sure other guys feel that way, but I never forget, there was a coach that he had the best line ever when talking to an undrafted guy. He was like, afford to be who you can afford to be.
Yeah.
And right now, Jadeveon Clowney has made his money. He can go out and say these things at the end of the season. It won't affect him. If he signed a one-year deal, he'll probably be someplace else.
I think that this is nothing more than a strategic, trying to hold some sort of strategic edge. You don't want to telegraph to the Steelers that he's definitively not playing. But when you send a player home on Friday, I can't remember any instances where you send him home on Friday and then you lace him up and put him out there on Sunday. But back to the point.
By the way, guys, on his contract, real quick, Clowney has a per-game roster bonus that totals $1 million.
All right, so
if he doesn't play, he's going to lose
117.
117.
Yeah.
So that
ain't no money.
He's going to lose.
And he does have $1 million total worth of incentives. I haven't been able to figure out what they're for specifically.
I'm sure he ain't hit none of them.
Anyway,
that's Costco's money.
Yeah.
Well, so I asked the guys about, like, for them to rank who they believe has the most power in the Browns organization. And I'm curious to see what you say about that. And everybody in the organization, obviously the coaching staff, GM, owner, everything, analytics guru. Yeah. Give me your take on what you think that hierarchy is, 1 to 3, and then maybe tell us what you think it should be or what you've seen successful organizations sort of have that power structure be and make it work best.
Yeah, I mean, it has to start with Haslam, right? Haslam, and then I have to put, even though I don't hear much about him, but how do you say his name? DePodesta. And then I feel like between Barry and Stefanski, they're like a package deal, right? And I think, and that's what I get. I haven't talked to anyone about it, but I just get that feeling that's the way it goes. But I think the way a successful organization needs to run is obviously it starts with the owner. And then you hire someone. My honest opinion, you've hired a GM who's the pulse of this football team. The GM and the head coach have to work in tandem, have to understand what type of players they need, what type of attitude we need to coach a football team, and not just a mediocre team, but a championship level team. And it's going to take someone at the helm, and Brad's going to like this, that can deal with the big personality guys and coach them.
Look at my man. Look at my man behind you.
That's okay.
we got a co-star. So I think
that's right.
He got a mind of his own. I just think, in this case with the Browns, man, they really have underachieved, and I think everybody on this coaching staff, everyone on this team has to have a hard look and self-evaluate who's the guys I can win a championship with. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think my biggest question here is when you look at the organizations that are successful, always successful, I don't see their owners grabbing the rope and pulling in that power struggle. Like, when you think of the Krafts and the Rooneys, but then I think of Jerry Jones, who really has had no postseason success
since firing Jimmy Johnson.
So the only success that they had under him, he screwed up and got rid of the coaches. And they've had no success. And Washington with Snyder, it seems to me that when the owner is in the top 3, it feels like that could be a big problem. They're business people. They're not football people. They write checks. They shouldn't have power and say on all these things. Hire the right people and let them lead.
Well, that's it. I don't think because he's so involved There's something there. There's something to read into it in terms of how confident they feel in Kevin Stefanski. Yeah, he's good.
He's good, man. He's great.
I think that's indicative. I think until you find a guy like a Tomlin, you find a guy that's a 15-year fixture, you take a back seat. But until that happens, I think you have to be involved. And I think Kevin Stefanski on a 1-year deal to get this to right this ship, because if not, then there is no more defending him.
I like DeQuell. He's such a nice guy.
Hey, DeQuell.
I give him 1 year. I give him one more year after this. But defensive coordinator, you got to go.
Unfortunately, you played in a lot of games against the Steelers late in the year where the Browns were not going to the playoffs. So what's the mindset of the Browns players? They've been eliminated, but they know that they control the Steelers' destiny. If they win that game, they knock the Steelers out. Does it mean more to knock the Steelers out if you're a Browns player than knocking Washington out? I assume yes, but I don't know. You would know better than me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Some guys are going to have that, going to think about that. Let's knock the, let's beat the Pittsburgh Steelers because they're Pittsburgh Steelers. But half the locker room, they're thinking about where they're going to be next week. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're not playing for anything right now. And that's just the honest truth. Half of the locker is going to be divided. Half the locker room understands what's at stake. They want to win an extra game. They want to put out, good film. For the last game of the season, you want to beat a rival down the road. But half the locker room, hell, I don't know what type of game you're going to get.
Hey, you forgot that small percentage, bro. The ones that got vacation plans already.
Oh, yeah, that was me. That was me.
Trying to figure out where I'm going. Am I going to Bahamas? Where am I? Aruba? Where am I going here?
Talk about, babe, how's that all-inclusive?
They already bought the tickets. The tickets are already purchased.
That little bed and breakfast. All-inclusive.
Listen, I was one of those guys, but I was still, I can handle both. But a lot of guys, they set up vacations. Yeah. And they're thinking about not getting hurt. That's what they're thinking about. Looking at the
look, surviving.
First quarter, they want to survive it because here's the thing: if you get hurt, whatever travel plans you have, you got to stay at least a week at that facility.
Like, I got 2 more hours to make it.
And DeQuell, when he packed, he ain't got no socks in that place. He got all.
They're all sandals.
No flip-flops. Sports, all linen.
Hey, DeQuell,
all linen, baby.
A former Steeler, Ben Roethlisberger, made news this week when he was asked whether or not the Steelers will win and make the playoffs. And by the way, little man back there with the helmet on is priceless. It's priceless. So Roethlisberger was asked. There you go. Roethlisberger was asked. Will the Browns win? And Ben said, "Well, yeah, I think they're going to win. I mean." Basically, I'm paraphrasing. After all, they are playing the Cleveland Browns. Okay, shots fired from his sofa.
Yeah.
I'll give you an opportunity to respond to that. I mean, sometimes the truth hurts like hell, but
and that's precisely why I do not like the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
You know what? The fact that you want to hang your hat on. Listen, you kick us when we're down. I get it. Like that. Come on, man. Come on, let's suit back up, and let's see what you can do on that field. Let's have a alumni game where we get all our best alumni from each team. Let's go at it.
By the way, have you guys, DeQuell included, have you guys seen the movie Dodgeball? Remember the movie Dodgeball?
Oh, it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You can dodge a wrench. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Remember at the end of the movie, during the credits, Ben Stiller is sitting on his couch and he's gained like hundreds of pounds.
Yes.
That's what I picture Ben Roethlisberger looking like right now. Like eating a chicken, like a turkey
like Fat
drumstick.
Bastard from Austin Powers.
Like 400 pounds. Basically a taller version of me, if I'm honest.
Can we get a picture of Fat Bastard from Austin Powers for those that are too young to remember that?
He put the stuff back nice. He put the stuff back right.
Hi, buddy.
Look at your hand. He put it back right. He put it back right.
He still hasn't figured out who I'm talking to right now.
No.
Hey, DeQuell, he stole your hair.
Memorabilia back.
Stole your hair.
He stole your hair.
I know. I say that all the time. That's my go-to line. I say it all the time. And he looks at me crazy.
You dirty.
You have no hair.
Hey, before you.
Bring him up there.
Join
Bring
the
him up
party.
there. Wow,
There
look
you
at
go.
those
Big man.
Look at those dimples. Holy cow.
That
What
is
a
cute
What
kid.
a cute
Look at him,
kid.
he's waving. That's awesome.
Looking like his daddy.
That's awesome.
We're gonna have a Tyvis with his daughter, DeQuell with his son crossover at some point.
Oh,
man.
my God.
Hey, man.
That would be outstanding.
Yeah, but the only
UCSS
difference
and
is-
Bull. You can bring Aaron in too.
Yeah,
and
but
we'll
DeQuell likes the show of his kids. Tyvis is trying to get him out of the camera.
Yeah, he is. Yelling for them to be quiet in the background.
Looking like he in a
Hey,
Sears
guys,
magazine.
can I say one thing before I forget?
Yeah.
Of course.
So G. Bush, I wanna commend you, brother, for how you spoke out passionately.
Yes.
With that energy that you had about DeMar Hamlin's situation and the reality of his situation. I got a lot of text messages, a lot of DMs. Who is this guy, man? Can I get in contact with him? So I think that was a beautiful thing with what you did, man. And if I could say this, just watching that play was oh man, it put a lot of things in perspective. Man. Really did. Just to have him with me, just to be able to say I was fortunate enough to make it out as healthy as I could. But again, man, I give you all the respect for speaking with that language, and hopefully that energy continues.
Hey man, I appreciate it, man. Like I always said, man. I'm just grateful that we have a platform, and the show has got so much exposure over the last few weeks. And people have been coming up to me saying, man, I didn't even know you guys was there, man. You guys, I went back and watched some of your episodes, and you guys talk about some of the realest topics. So, for me, I was excited to have people to shine a light on the platform, and it's just a beautiful thing to see all those people and players come out and say that.
Let's open the platform to you.
Yes.
You lived this life.
Yeah.
You're a former player. One of the things that Jason said was, hey, man, it sucks. This system sucks. There's no other way to say it. And the league is not treating its players fairly. But it ultimately comes down to the damn collective bargaining agreement. Like, this stuff was collectively bargained and signed off on by the players. We talked about yesterday, okay, we all agree change has to happen. How the hell do we get there?
Yeah, you know what the underlying, the crux of this issue is the fact that, when I played, I was always a union rep, and I was fortunate enough to be with a agent who wanted guys to be involved in the union to know what was going on. And so even as a union rep, you really don't fully comprehend what it means to be a former player and the benefits that won't be afforded to you, because in my opinion, there's two types of athletes in the National Football League. There's vested and non-vested.
Right.
And when you're vested, you're afforded a ton of the annuities, 401k plans, all the resources that the NFL can provide for you. But if you're not vested, things are very much so complicated. And for me,
how so? How so?
So, for instance, right now I played 11 seasons, right? And so every year I maxed out my 401k, and the NFL has the best 401k plan. They match you 2-to-1. If you're not vested, you can't participate.
God.
You can't participate in that program
until 3 years.
And in order 3 years and 3 games. And so when I was a union rep, I never saw the difference between the practice squad. The only difference between the practice squad guys and the guys who played on Sunday was just that. Guys played on Sunday, but they were there every day of the week. They went through the same grind you went through. So there was always a huge discrepancy. And I think the crux of it is you have a lot of young people that there isn't enough of integration between former and current players to hash out what exactly is important for what we need when we're done playing. Because out of the 2,000 players that are playing this game actively right now, there's going to be all of those guys are going to be former athletes, and then that's when you realize, some of the.
DQ, let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask from the NBA side, right? And I think it's always led by the players, right? When you're looking for change. Where we are on guaranteed money, right? I go down one day, I don't care, I got a 5-year deal, I'm still getting that money.
Right.
Don't work like that for you. You get your money up front on these signing bonuses. Why do you guys prefer the signing bonuses to the guaranteed money? What is the deal?
They don't prefer it. That's all.
No, because they can change the paradigm. If they jumped up and said they want guaranteed money, they could get it.
You know what it is, Brad? Listen, I wish I would have had a chance to talk to him before I say this, but there's a few guys in this league that can really cause a massive shift
Yes, they could.
And guaranteed money and signing bonuses. And I'll go back to a guy that I played with, Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck at the time when he was the next touted guy, right, going to sign a massive deal. We all thought collectively within the union, secretly talking about he's going to ask for the first fully guaranteed deal, and he didn't. It's going to take it's going to take a quarterback or someone at that level to ask for a guaranteed deal to start the conversation.
Well, Deshaun Watson has it.
Watson just got it.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson's deal is guaranteed. Is he going to be the Kurt Flood of the NFL?
And that's what's holding up the Lamar Jackson deal, I think.
I think so, too, because now everybody after him is going to want it.
That's not a thing. That's a fact.
Right.
That's the reason he's he wants a guaranteed contract.
So
it's going to take more guys that can generate that type of revenue to all band together and say, this is what we need. And quite frankly, this topic is, I could talk about it all day. And the crux of it is, you have young men don't think, a 22-year-old is not going to think like a 32-year-old.
They're never going to be old.
They're
never going to be old.
Owners, billionaires.
The veteran stars got to take care of the young players, right, to make that happen.
So there's some things that I would even like clarity about. First question is, do only active players vote? And two, say for instance you came down with, I don't know, if you got, CTE, you had something happen where you were disabled or something happened because of football injuries that you find out as you get older, how difficult would it be for you to get
almost impossible
disability in the NFL?
So I'm glad you asked that. So with the new CBA was getting ready to be signed, there was a lot of my former teammates, wives and significant others reach out to me and a lot of my other friends because currently they were on TNP, total and permanent disability.
Right.
And in the previous CBA, it said that if a state granted you Social Security, that automatically said, you know what, you qualify for permanent and TNP, total and permanent disability program. So a lot of my former players who can't work, who've had issues, whether you don't know if it's CTE, but they've had a good amount of issues that where they actually qualify for this program. Now with the new CBA, they've worked their lifestyle around this money that comes in monthly because of their disability. They can never go out and work in the workforce. Right. So now the new CBA comes around, and it's extremely difficult. So the problem was now the NFL changed the rules, because if you qualify for Social Security, now you had to go through all these hoops and jump through all these different doctors, NFL doctors, to say, hey, you qualify for this disability.
Well, did they change the rules, though, without the union signing off on that?
The union signed off on it.
Yeah.
The union had to sign
and that's
off on
my rub.
Yeah.
Why the hell are they making all these concessions when Gene lays out the problems?
Right.
You literally look at this and say, damn the NFL.
They want to make that paperwork.
But what I really want to say is, damn the players for approving that.
They want to make these things so hard so people eventually go, why bother?
And, Bill, that's what they do.
Right?
Bernie Kosar has told me stories off air about, man, eventually the hoops just get to be too many.
So, there's a point I want to make. So G made a great point early this week, and my buddy Dominique Foxworth, he's on Get Up and First Take in the morning, and he brought up the fact that a few months ago, so there was this huge tidal wave of emotion and empathy for Damar Hamlin, and rightfully so. And what he echoed was there needs to be that same energy for the former players, because guys like myself, guys like him, we dealt with a situation that was life-threatening about 3 months ago. He was a former teammate of mine. His significant other reached out to Dominique's wife. His wife reached out to me. In the proper channels, we got him help. So apparently what happened, he was having an episode of some degree. He had barricaded himself in a house with a loaded gun and making threats. And this is something that, hell, I've been out of the league almost 6 years now. This is a reoccurring thing.
Yeah, it's a reoccurring thing.
It happens too often. It happens too often, and the young players in the league, they're so caught up in what they're doing, and I get it. I was one of those people. There's enough conversation and energy behind that, saying that, you know what? I shouldn't have to deal with and all these guys aren't even 50 years old.
Right.
These guys are dealing with real issues that the NFL has done everything they could to just push it to the side. And that energy needs to be there because a lot of guys are hurting and a lot of guys don't understand it. It's like a vicious cycle of these young guys agreeing to rules that seems to be okay for them at the moment, but 10 years goes by. Let's say after 5 years, when you're no longer part of, when you no longer have insurance through the NFL, it complicates things. Listen, I played 11 seasons. I've saved a lot of the money I made. My wife works in corporate America. Even I don't pay for the NFL's insurance that I have to pay for. That's how expensive it is.
Yeah. Right.
A guy that wasn't vested or played, half of the amount of time that I played, that's a big expense. And they make it so difficult for guys to just function, and it shouldn't be that. Listen, we're a long ways away from correcting that issue. And I just hope everyone keeps talking about it.
Sadly, DeQuell, we got to wrap up today's show, but I want to ask you this, and I'm sure the answer is going to be yes, but I think G. Bush has hit a real chord that everybody can relate to. Whether you're, pro management, pro player, it doesn't matter. What we've touched on here and what we've seen the response is that this system is broken. Okay, it's broken because the players signed off on it. Mm-hmm. I want to invite you. I want to invite Robert Smith, who was on the NFL board of disability and pension. Jay Feely has reached out to me as a longtime player rep who has strong feelings on this. When the football season is over, I want to dedicate a full 2 hours to talking about this issue, and that won't even cover it.
Love to.
But I think whenever there's a problem, then everybody agrees there's a problem. Don't talk about the problem, present solutions. And I want to get you three together and maybe some other voices and try to figure out how we fix this, because it has to be fixed.
And I know a lot has to do with the current players agreeing to this, but those guys don't have those guys don't have the time, because you're trying to figure out a CBA within the season, trying to educate guys that are playing throughout the season. You don't have time to really fully comprehend what's going on. You just, hey, if your union rep says this is something we should agree to, let's agree to it.
So shift the calendar, maybe.
Right. You got to shift the calendar. You have to involve more than just the players, outside counsel, former players. This has to be a collective group effort.
Yeah, I love that idea, because when Ryan Clark said something talking about the DeMar Hamlin coverage. When I was 24 years old, I didn't even know I could die. They need former players representing the issues, the problems, the situations that all of the guys that are casting votes today are going to one day be faced with. They've got to be educated on that.
Not the end of this conversation, but it is for today. Thanks, DeQuell.
DeQuell, we love you, man. It's adorable. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
By the way, real quick, 5 seconds, Mike, this is important. Browns defensive end coach Chris Kiffin confirms that Clowney refused to play on first or second down versus Baltimore. He claimed it was because of injury, which obviously it wasn't. That's lame.
Well, he's not playing. There's no way he's playing Sunday.
It's a good segue because all of the super chats we got today are dedicated to Clowney. This is from Mason Gauden. Hey, guys, love the show. Listen and watch every day. Mason, thank you. My question is, if Clowney thinks he's so good and should have 10 sacks, why can't he win a single one-on-one?
Yeah, you're right.
There you
go. Do your job.
There you go.
If you believe in yourself and nobody else does, as he claims, prove us wrong.
This is from Charles T. Actually, we have two from Charles T. The first from Charles T. Hey, guys, Clowney's example of why we have to stop firing coaches after 3 years and build a culture where players don't feel comfortable doing things like this. Sean Payton took 8 years to build a culture. His follow-up was, no coach could feel confident to make moves on the Browns in just 3 years when the culture is fire after 3 years. Tomlin came in with culture already. Zach came in after Lovey, had 10-plus years. Players know the owner's track record.
That's true. They're going to get away with what they can get away with, or what they think they can get away with.
And breaking news, we just crossed 150 members. Subscribe, become a member. Which means
maybe because now we've told them how to do it.
Yeah, right.
Angry Jason Lloyd emoji is now available. Very angry Jason emoji.
Isn't that the one that Bull said he looked constipated in?
This is the constipated and/or angry. Your choice, viewer discretion. Maybe he was angry on the toilet. Who knows? Angry at the toilet. Who knows?
By the way,
Yes.
we should have, bad job out of us. We should have asked DeQuell about Peyton Hillis because they were teammates.
Oh, you're right.
Somebody tweeted that at me.
You're right. Doggone
Well, the good thing is, hopefully, we have some more information on Hillis. I did see a report during the show. He's making progress, which is awesome. So, continued prayers for Peyton Hillis.
Very good.
If you didn't hear, he saved his kids who he thought was drowning. His kids are fine. He is now in critical condition. So, hopefully, the former Browns running back will do better.
Maybe when he's out of the woods, maybe we get him on the show because I think he'd be an entertaining
we reached out to
guest.
him a couple times. I don't know if it went great when we reached out to him, but we'll try
It didn't go great.
But we were going to talk about this at the end of the show. The proposal the NFL owners are voting on today, debating whether
The
or not
AFC
to
playoff
handle
format.
It's outrageous.
AFC playoff
Yeah,
picture.
Bull's hot on it.
Yeah.
Bull is hot.
Hit the
It's gonna be
join.
overtime
Hit
content.
the join button and become a member because we're going to start that segment as soon as this show ends. It is our overtime content for the day. But I guess that wraps up another week of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, right?
Hey, best Friday numbers in a long time. So
Listen,
shout out.
listen. I think that this was perhaps
Great show.
a massive week in the history of
Massive
UCSF.
week, great show.
The eyeballs and the publicity that G has provided this program, it feels like a tidal wave, guys. It feels
Everybody's
like a tidal
in. Be
wave.
all in because we're going to be here a while. Final post-game show this Sunday.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride on post-game show. Final one.
Have a great weekend. Go Browns. We'll see you on the postgame show on Sunday and then back here for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on Monday.
McCarthy lost the 12th vote.